still feel like utter butter.
Mm-hmm. Like rotten butter.
This is, as my brother just said earlier today, he said, this is something new.
Yeah, well, oh my God, I'm gonna sneeze. It's definitely, it's definitely the flu.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so weird because, it's season. I feel like it's so seasonal. Like it always happens like every freaking Christmas. Like I feel like this is now the third Christmas that it's happened.
Well, I mean, that's when the flu is the most aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cressy said, well, I watched your Inky Festival jam again today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Biscuit, yeah. We all got the flu. It's so crazy. It started with Lamont, and then it hit, I think it hit Lamar and I almost at the same time because he started feeling not so good yesterday. And then yesterday evening is when I started getting that little scratchy throat. And then this morning, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to get it. Biscuit said, you sound rough.
Yeah. I'm literally like, my lungs are just.
Yeah, you were, man, you looked horrible.
I think the last 2 days were just foggy as fuck.
Yeah.
If I did not support your channel when you were live, I do apologize for I was not operating at optimal levels.
Yeah. Crazy Rabbit said, rest your voice. You streamed. Call it a day.
Yeah, we don't plan on being in here long. But
yeah. Yeah.
You know what's funny is we never considered this 1 year to be a challenge. We considered to do a 1 year live stream an endeavor,
we knew it was going to be rough at times.
a battle of
Endurance.
not only
No.
that, but I think the three of us often found ourselves in situations where we could immediately come up with an excuse as to not to do something.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we've done that for the better part of our lives. So it's not like we're not holding it. My mind is still foggy.
Yeah.
We're not holding this above ourselves so far where it's like we do this or we die.
Right,
So
yeah.
don't misinterpret what this whole live stream for 1 year is about.
Yeah.
This is,
Oh, like Lamar said, we're just holding ourselves accountable.
we're holding ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
And we find, I mean, but that's with life, right? This is showing me like my health is going to come first. That's why I didn't go
Yesterday.
on air yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
And Lamar's had a fever today, so that's why he's not here. So now I'm just curious, like when it hits me, when I'm like, oh my God, when I feel like how you two feel, who's going to sit here?
And maybe we just do like we did yesterday.
Oh, on the phone.
Just go on the phone.
Yep.
Yeah. Doesn't always have to be in the studio. It
Yeah, we
doesn't
could do what
always
we
have to
did.
be music.
Yeah.
Which we're going to start walking away from more and more. But
Yeah.
this is the home turf. This is where it all starts. So.
Yeah. Viral Beat said, stream over, go to bed. Crazy Rabbit said, no apologies needed. Biscuit said, agreed, Rabbit.
But, you know, hey, this is, believe it or not, the first day.
Crazy Rabbit said, don't go live in the bathroom, please. Oh, man.
The first day I was sick and I sat here and we played with James Dyson.
You mustered through that.
I think it was the music that got me to.
That adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
He
James Dyson was the groove, and
Yeah.
then Emotions came in, and
Well, like we talked about it before, like music is very healing, right? And it was a very good jam that day. Everybody was just on point. And it just made you feel
it made me feel great.
like it gave you a
Yeah.
little bit of energy. But like off mic, Lamar and I kept telling you, stop blowing into that harmonica.
That was the one thing that did me in.
Yeah.
Because I already
You had
was-
the weak lungs
yeah.
already. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, when it was done, everything tanked.
Yeah.
You know, the adrenaline surge was gone,
Yep.
the body tanked, and that's truly mind over matter, though, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but I
Hey,
feel
Robbie. Hey, Luke.
I feel at least
You said every day you keep feeling
10% better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke says Marilyn sound awful. Poor thing. Yeah. I'm starting. So it started with Lamont. I think he's past the worst of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's Lamar. And I think I'm right behind Lamar. I haven't gotten the fever portion of it yet. I think I'm just now just getting that, like that sore throat and that coughing. But the fever portion I haven't gotten yet. Yeah, so my hi, hellos, is it going to sound all that great? I should probably record that now for Robbie and send it and be like, here, hi, hello. Yeah.
It's definitely not worse than when we had COVID, you know, but this could be COVID too. Like
Yeah,
the flu is COVID.
It's the flu. It's the new strain.
A
of
cold is
flu.
COVID.
Yeah.
Paxlovid.
You want me to post the link if anybody wants to come in and chat?
Yeah. If anybody wants to join in, please don't hurt my head. I'm good with just the absolute subtle sounds. I don't need anything loud, ratchety, no hard pounding head stuff. Just subtle sounds to help ease the mind and soothe the body. If you want to join in, that's fine.
Just come and chat along with us.
Or if you just want to come in and chat, that's fine too. Yeah, I feel 30% better than 2 days ago.
Yeah. Luke said, time for death metal.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
No, not death metal. Luke said he's cooking right now. What are you cooking, Luke? It's funny. So when we posted our live yesterday, Luke said he was going back home or was home or whatever, and he was eating soup, drinking soup, whichever is the proper way. I don't know. And it was sweet and sour.
Oh, so we had a Chinese dinner last night.
And then Angie had posted that she had they ordered Chinese. Yeah, I was like, that's so cool.
So we weren't the only ones with that.
Yeah,
idea.
with the Chinese. Hi, Robbie.
Sorry.
Oh,
Hola, Robbie.
let me make sure I have my settings right.
Make sure you got your settings right.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have my settings right.
Okay.
Happy
so-
Boxing Day.
It was his
Yeah.
his fault.
Yeah.
No sweet.
Sorry
sweet
to
and
hear
sour.
you've not been well and passing it around amongst each other.
Oh my God! At least we're getting it over
Jeez.
with.
Yeah.
If there's anything to look forward to, is hey, we got the strand. It seems like it's one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
Send it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only imagine if I didn't work out as hard as I do and eat healthy as I do, it would be much worse if I was a cigarette smoker.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Hey, Cressy. Hey, Ken.
Hey, Kent.
Hey, guys.
Hey guys,
Hey, Cressy.
you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you guys. Good.
Excellent. Happy holidays to everybody. I just wanted to
Yeah,
hop in and say
Likewise.
hello,
Thank
and I
you.
hope you guys are feeling better sooner as opposed to later.
Yeah. Yeah. I just couldn't sit on that damn couch anymore. I'm like, I have to get up and do something. I got to get my mind out of
That's
just
how I
thinking
was
I'm
last
sick.
year. Last
Yeah.
year, my wife was very upset because she surprised me with a Christmas present, and I was too sick to show any enthusiasm.
no.
Even though I was extremely excited about it, I was beat.
there's nothing worse than being sick on the holidays.
Oh,
It
my
really
God.
is, because everyone is like, I say everyone, most people have stopped, down tools, kicked back, taken time off work,
Echo.
and
Yeah,
then
someone's echoing.
it all goes to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife, about 15 years ago, Christmas Eve, she just came down with this horrible, like, vomiting virus thing.
Oh no.
And she was, Christmas Day, she didn't come downstairs all day, so, and she's the main cook, so it was fun.
Oh
Yeah.
jeez.
But we got it in the end. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good.
Yeah, I was in the basement
The whole day.
trying to isolate myself.
I felt so bad
and,
for you.
They were up there having a grand old time, and,
Yeah, I
and
felt
I'm sitting down there with the fucking dog, and I'm looking at the dog like, what the fuck are you looking at? And and all he wanted to do, bless his
Look
heart.
at it, yeah, you idiot. That's what your
Yeah.
dog was thinking.
Yeah.
And all he wanted to do was come over and be loved. He was like, Dad, I can see you're down and out. I'm just going to stay with you. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Come here. And so it was just him and I down there.
I felt so bad. When dinner was ready, I went downstairs and had dinner with him. And he's like, you don't have to have dinner with me. I'm like, I am not going to leave you down here having Christmas dinner by yourself.
So
You go in the
you went
unclean
down there to
dungeon.
get infected then, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The non-quarantine
I just didn't want to get the
dungeon.
grandkid, infected with the
Yeah, Keith,
whatever.
definitely dogs know. They definitely know.
Well,
When-
I've seen Kent on his sofa on various phone calls when he's not been well, and he's surrounded by dog
Oh, yeah.
on all sides,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
especially Siri. So
Yeah.
she knows.
They do bring the energy, though. He did bring me the energy, and I could see it in his eyes. He was concerned because he's like, I'm not used to seeing you like this. What the hell's going on with
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
And he constantly wants to come up to you and give you loves and make sure you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dow Sophie Music says, that settles it. I'm an alien. I eat nothing, don't exercise, and never get sick.
Mm. It's all about the old DNA, isn't it?
Yeah. Homegrown says, is there such thing as a nice vomiting thing?
My puppy was. She apparently likes Snickers and found some Snickers fully wrapped and just went to town on it.
Wow.
So I had that vomiting to deal with. That was.
Oh, you lucky
interesting
it
enough.
didn't kill that dog, because chocolate and dogs.
No, I know.
Yeah, it's not good.
I was quite concerned, but luckily it was mostly still in the wrapper when it came back up.
Oh, geez. Ken Lamar has a question for you. He says, what is that?
It's a rat's nest. Look at this. This is a
Yes.
Buchla dual oscillator that I'm trying to repair. That I did not do this. Just to be very clear, I am trying to salvage it, and so I think I found some issues. One being, see this wire? It should probably be connected.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm kind of slowly going through it to make it more stable and repair it. And yeah, it's been an ongoing process over like a while, a long time. Like I repair it and I clean it up a little bit here. When I first got it, this rat's nest was about twice as big. It was really
Jeez.
it was really something else. But it's a cool oscillator. I mean, it sounds great when it works and when it's stable. But that is, not all that often. So, but I think I may have found where this guy came off from.
Oh my God, Uncle Crumb is hilarious. He says, my flab absorbs toxins, so exercising to reduce flab and toxins seems counterproductive.
There you go.
I have a very important question.
Yes.
Apart from getting ill at Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
what else did you get?
We didn't
Present-wise.
we
Oh,
didn't.
we don't
We
do
haven't had
presents.
a
Yeah.
proper Christmas gift exchange.
Oh
in
my
like
God, for like 6 years now.
maybe 6 years.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Probably because if we want something, we just
get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't wait for a holiday. and-
Adulting.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, you know, Christmas. It's funny you asked that. Synchronicity, Cressy, is because I think it was a day or two ago. I said, you know, we haven't had a Christmas tree and wrapped gifts in quite some time, and I'm like, why do you think that is?
Yeah, and then plus we haven't had like kids, right? Like little ones until the grandbaby came around, and so it really wasn't like a thing.
Right.
Wasn't in
Right.
your mind to do that? He's like,
No.
No.
I want to. I'll show you something.
No, because for us, like Christmas and those holidays and everything is more of a family thing, right? So we want family to come over and spend the day. Like that's what we cherish about those holidays.
so your presents were more people around you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Because, you know, and I don't want to get all weird about it, but I look at holidays a bit different. And,
Yeah.
you know, Christmas is much like Black Friday. I just look at it as another thing and another responsibility to keep you in debt and keep you, you know, distracted from certain things that you should really be paying attention to. And so we slowly got out of the commodity war.
Right.
And for a lack of better words, we were being more Jewish about things and actually holding our loved ones closer and, just
that means more to us.
just
That,
getting together
yeah.
versus spending money on just
Yeah.
random shit.
that holds
Getting
more.
back to the true meaning of it.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
holds more value to us than opening up something that was wrapped up pretty that you may or may not use.
Or may
It
or
was
may
fun.
not
No,
even
don't get
want.
me wrong. It was fun with the kids, though. I used to love it with the
Yeah,
kids to
yeah.
see, you know, like when they were 10 through like 13, their eyes would get all
Yeah.
big and they were, you would,
Yeah.
How old is your oldest now?
Seraphine is 24.
Oh, so
Okay.
baby's having babies? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Yes, so we have a grandchild who's a year. Will be turning.
Congrats.
Thank you. He'll be turning 2 in
April?
March.
Oh, Mark.
I have a kid who's about to turn 25. So
Yeah.
I had him when I was 19.
Oh, young.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't drink yet, so.
Yeah.
Well, there's other
You
things.
could do other things to do other than drink.
Yeah.
Oh, I drank.
Oh, okay.
My oldest, I'm going to, not with competing. My oldest is 37 next birthday,
I feel like you're competing
Oh,
and winning.
wow.
and the other two are 21 and 19. So
Yeah.
Geez, I could be your daughter, Robbie.
If we're competing, then I'm losing.
okay, let me process that for a minute. No, it's funny. I was thinking that because my family, because my parents divorced and got remarried and had children, and I went to see my mum today because my half brother Gavin came over, and he is 38, I think 38. So he's only like a couple of years older than my oldest. And kind of gives you this idea of how sort of far apart we all are as brothers and sisters, and we're not really like brothers, not in the traditional sense of brothers and sisters, because we didn't really all grow up together. Because I've got a sister who's the closest sister to me, because I think I mentioned before, one of my sisters, my first sister, passed away in '78, so I was 8 years old, so she was only about 4 years younger than me. Then Gemma comes along when I'm 10. So there's 10 years between me and her. And when I left home at 18, she was 8 years old and, you know, didn't really kind of... We didn't play around together. We shared a bedroom because of necessity, but that was about it. So we've never been that sort of kind of close. So I hear what you're saying when you about getting family and stuff together. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But,
I remember, it's probably 13. And at the age of 13, I probably should have known better, but that just tells you how wild my brother and I's fantasies were. But we didn't grow up very rich at all. We didn't have a whole lot of money. My brother and I, we used to share clothes. And being twins, it was a good thing and a bad thing because they thought you always wore the same thing every day. And it was like, well, nope, I wore that yesterday and he wore this, you know, and we kind of were made fun of. And my mom happened to land a better job as a nurse in a skilled nursing home. And we're 13 and Christmas is getting closer. And my brother and I are just ecstatic because I don't really think we wanted toys per se. I mean, we did, but we didn't. It was like video games, and we wanted these we wanted these mimicked for kids like Los Angeles Raiders uniforms, and it came with these cheap plastic helmets and the jersey and the bands,
Typical
and the
13-year-old
pads,
boys
right?
stuff.
And I remember we went to go get a Christmas tree, and it was a small one, but it was nice. And all of a sudden, she started getting real quiet, and like she would go in her room, and we would hear things, but we couldn't piece it together. And then my mom would go, "Okay, you know, Santa's coming soon. Make sure you get your list, and make sure you guys are good at school." So, you know, we would try our best for that 1 month to be extra good, and we would not be bickering with each other, and we wouldn't be fighting and arguing over toys. And slowly but for sure, I'm like, okay, tomorrow's Christmas Eve. Now, take in mind, we still believe in Santa Claus at the age of 13. And so we're up late. My mom is like, okay, you guys got to go to bed or Santa's not going to come. And I don't know what made us go, okay, fine. But we went in the room and we pretend like we were sleeping. Now, she, for the longest time, she would always say, okay, get the cookies out, get the milk out, put it right here, and Santa will come and eat it.
I remember doing that.
You know? And so we went in the room and we pretend like we were asleep, and all of a sudden we would hear some rustling, and I would go, Lamar, it's Santa. And he goes, my brother is such a fucking realist. He goes, Santa is not coming in the ghetto breaking in our house. He would get shot doing something like that. And I go, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's a burglar.
Oh my gosh.
Because we lived in that type of environment. You know, we were in the ghetto. And so I don't know what made me come out of the room and take a peek around the corner, and I could see mother, and she's right by the front door, and she's taking the cookies and she's biting the cookies, and she poured the milk out and put it back on the counter that separated the kitchen from the living room. It wasn't a very big home, but it was big enough for us. And I said to myself, son of a bitch, Mom is Santa Claus, and she's biting our cookies. Like, she could have shared it with us, but we didn't want to tell Mom we saw her, you know? And then I go, okay, well, there's no gifts under the tree.
Uh-huh.
And I think Mom might have heard us.
Yeah.
She kind of looked in our direction, and we hurry up and scurried in the room, and we closed the door as quiet as we could. I think she knew we were up.
I like that you said scurried.
Right. And so she waited an hour. I think we were just about to fall asleep. She went in her room and she started to unload all the gifts under the tree. Now, bless my mom's heart, because she knew we were still out of an innocent age, and all she ever wanted for her kids was to have a good Christmas and have the things that they wanted and to believe in a miracle, you know? And I always thank her for that, because it was a privilege to go 13 years without knowing Santa Claus exists.
Yeah.
And so we came out early in the morning, and I'm like, Lamar, look at all the gifts. And he's like, yeah. And we sit there, we're waiting for Mom to get up. We're like, Ma, come on, Santa came. And we knew it was her at this point, right? And she's like, well, open it, you know, y'all can open your stuff up. And she just sat on the couch. She may not remember this, but I remember it vividly well. She sat on the couch, and her face expression was to die for.
Mhm.
She just smiled as we just went in and just started ripping paper. And mainly what we got was we got the Raiders uniforms with the plastic helmet and the football. We went outside and played, but mainly what we got was clothes. And at the time I was like, fucking clothes. I don't want any fucking clothes.
Yeah.
Like more socks, more shirts, more pants. Fuck. And it didn't dawn on me that she knew we didn't have clothes and we didn't know what was best for us.
Yeah.
And she filled our closets with clothes that didn't match one another. For once in our lives, we could be individuals. And
Yeah.
we looked past it. And from there off, I think we've always had different clothes. And she said it was her goal to at least give us a wardrobe for the entire week before we would have to wash and recycle. And that 13, at the age of 13 Christmas, I'll always remember that.
Yep. Yeah, at that young of an age, you don't know any better, huh?
But she did say, I know you guys see me put those. I was like, yeah, Ma, you lied to us. I think that was fucked up, Ma. You lied to us. That Santa Claus don't exist. And she goes, no, but I do. And this is what you guys got. And I hope you're happy. And we were so ecstatic.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have a 10-year-old who is still of that mindset, still believes. And I had a conversation with him the other day about it, and he kind of reaffirmed his belief. And I was like, cool, and kept it moving.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had a conversation with my parents over the holidays about like regrets over those years of like things I did as a kid during the holidays that I was like, man, I kind of regret that.
Mhm.
And I asked them, I said, do you guys remember the year I got my first synthesizer? And they were like, I don't think so. And like, they didn't really remember. And I was like, I remember specifically opening it up. My sister had been asking for a Casio SK1 for like all these years, for all this time, I should say. And I ended up getting the Casio SK1, and I flaunted it in front of my sister's face so hard. I was like, you asked for it and I got it. I was just such a jerk.
Oh,
And you know, luckily my sister was like, I don't even remember that. And I was like, I do. And I love that synth. I use that thing so much. Oh my God.
Did you ask for it too? Do you remember asking
I
for
don't
it?
think that I did. The best I can here's what I really think happened. Like we kind of talked it out, and it evolved into a larger conversation about like, did you know when we were finding gifts ahead of time? Because that was our thing. Like we were just bad kids, and we would search for everything. And she was like, oh, we knew that you guys were hunting for them and all. I was like, well, what I think happened there is I think Sarah, my sister, found the I think she found it and was like hyping it up like, oh, I want this, thinking that it was for her, right? Because she was not, she didn't really do music stuff like that then. At the time she was this would have been, God, she would have been 9, maybe 11 or 12, something like that. I probably would have been like maybe 9, somewhere around there. I'm not sure exactly which year the SK1 came out, but it was definitely like within a year of it coming out. But you know, I think it was one of those things where she was trying to like hype up the fact of like, this is what she was getting, and she was like, I want that or whatever, but it was actually supposed to be for me or something. Like it may have already been wrapped, because like we would find wrapped presents and like Mission Impossible unseal these things
Oh,
and like,
gosh.
and then
What
reseal.
What
We were
kid
bad.
didn't do that?
Right.
I found you know, I grew up with like a Commodore 64. We didn't have a lot of money either, so it was many years after the NES came out that we got a Nintendo.
Yeah.
We didn't get a Nintendo until like right before the Super Nintendo came out. And then when the Super Nintendo came out, I was of course asking for it, and I was again a bad kid who, there was a pizzeria down the way that had a Street Fighter II arcade cabinet in it. And I had gotten in huge trouble one time because I took like $35 out of my mom's wallet, cashed it all in for quarters, and just went nuts on that game. Which,
Naughty man.
you know, that would have been like,
very naughty man.
yeah, like that was probably around '89, somewhere around that time, like when that game came out, and maybe 1990, something like that, and so that was a lot of money, like. Yeah,
I hope you got good at it, spending them $35.
Oh, let me tell you, I used to hustle college kids in there. Like you used to put your quarter up. Well, they would come in, and I would hustle these college students.
How
like
old
crazy.
were you at this time?
Oh, I was maybe 10, if that. I was probably
Jesus.
9. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, I was hustling dudes. And
You had the
to this
business
day, I'm
mentality.
still a Street Fighter addict.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm soldering that I'm soldering that module right now. By the way.
Look, not as naughty as James Dyson. He says, my brothers and I found the Christmas gifts in the summer, played with them, put them back in the boxes, and got them at Christmas.
Damn.
Evil little shit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like when I found the Super Nintendo, I opened it
Still
up
like
and I
that,
looked
but
at
yeah.
it, and then I packed it back up, and I was so excited I could barely sleep, and like
That's
for like
insane.
yeah, I was bad. My kids are so much better than I was. Like seriously, I
We
talk to my
always-
daughter about it all the time, and I'm like, you know,
we always
I don't.
strive to be better than our.
Were
than
you
what
all
we
like
were.
involved in like performing and stuff when you were in like high school and whatnot?
No.
Yeah.
So I was
for a little bit.
I was in bands and whatnot since I was in middle school. So like I think I got my first band when I was 14, and like and it was punk. It was like very like I got in the band before I knew how to play. Put it that way. So it was just like it was all about just being an extrovert and performing and that kind of thing. And I talked to my daughter about some of this stuff. Who, you know, now she's 18, and I'm like, you know, even today at 18, she would never consider doing half the stuff I did when I was 14. Like we would sneak out at like 1 in the morning and go play shows and like get in all kinds of trouble. And yeah, it's a different world now. I'm lucky that my kids are
Yeah.
much better than I am.
Yeah. Jeez.
See you later, Bicky.
Bye.
I remember I went downstairs. This must have been, I don't know, 78, 79, something like that. And I crept downstairs Christmas Eve, and I found this present with my name on it, and it was quite heavy. And I thought, oh, what's this? Now remember, you know, this was just around the time of games consoles and things, you know, just firsts, you know, the Ataris and shit. But it wasn't one of those. I got it upstairs to my room, and I, you know, did the whole peeling of the tape very, very carefully, and it was a stereo radio cassette recorder. And it came with a blank tape, you know, in the deck. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I can record my own voice because it's got the microphones. And so under the covers of my bed, I was playing with this thing and I was recording stuff. And then eventually I thought, no, I need to hide it up again. So I put it all back in, wrapped it all up, put it under the tree, go down the next morning, feigned surprise when I opened this. Oh, this is amazing. And my mum says, yeah, let me show you how you use it. Presses play on the tape thing. She says, this is how you play the tapes.
no.
And whose voice comes out of the speakers?
Oh
Oh,
man.
God, you didn't think to record over it. Huh?
Freaking Robbie.
Hook, line, and sinker.
I know. Just, you know.
It's, oh, doesn't that sound like me? That's interesting.
What did your mom say?
I know her face expression must have been priceless.
She wasn't
Yeah.
angry, really. She was, I mean, I think she was a little disappointed, but she wasn't, I think, you know, she was in the spirit of Christmas. She was just like, and we didn't really speak about it much more after that.
Enough said. It
yeah.
wasn't mentioned ever again. Uncle Chrome has literally discovered who the real Santa is. And it's, well, Santa doesn't exist, period.
Mm-hmm.
You're just being stalked by Synchrotron.
I've met him in real life. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
beardy boy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Definitely beardy.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Oh, Andy.
Kent, what did you get for Christmas? More stuff to fix?
Well, I did an emergency job on Christmas Eve.
For who? Can you say?
No, I can't say, but
Dang
they were doing a gig Christmas Day, and it's still in the fucking hall.
What?
They never collected it, so I didn't really need to
So
do
it
the job.
wasn't so much of an emergency.
Maybe charge them double time.
I was gonna say that's an
Yeah.
emergency fee.
No, I'm going to put my prawns under the power supply. In 6 months' time, the studio's going to smell like Fiona's underpants.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
Yeah, that is a bad thing.
Oh shit.
Jesus. Okay.
We had
Yeah.
to go there, didn't we?
What,
But-
yeah, why did I
Had
even...
to.
The thing is, what's making matters worse is yesterday, I took it upon myself.
Did how long did it take to fix? By the way, how much of your day did they ruin?
About 5 hours.
Fucking arseholes.
So, mate, it happens every year. I never learn. Yeah, I took it
Wow.
upon myself yesterday to give up smoking. And
On top of caffeine.
What cold turkey
Well, as-
cold
as-
turkey
as-
giving up
as
in not
much as
stop.
I humanly can, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I've
man.
had only 2 cigarettes today instead of whatever stupid amount I found that I was actually smoking.
Was each cigarette about 2 feet long though?
No, it's just a normal little one.
And,
But
and so that's why you look visibly irritated.
if somebody gives me shit now, I'll just kill them where they stand. I
Yeah,
honestly will.
yeah. I mean, can I just mention? I just want everybody here to know that when I have a hard-boiled egg, I do crack it from the top and not the
Oh, you
bottom.
fucking.
So everybody's fully aware.
But why? Why would you do that? You don't open a box from the bottom. What the hell is
No,
going on?
from the top. I do it from the top.
Good
So
girl.
everybody's fully aware. Okay, we're good. I'm safe.
Yeah.
All right, carry on.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
You were irritated.
Oh, yeah.
Just, just don't go cold turkey. Like you gotta wean yourself off.
Well, I have purchased. I don't know when it'll be here, but I have purchased a vape that might help take off the.
Didn't you used to
edge.
do vapes?
Yeah, but then it started to make me cough like a bastard.
Right. So you're going to go back
and I
to
was
coughing like a
told.
bastard?
Well, I was told that I was doing it wrong.
How about not do it at all, Kent? How about that?
There'll be deaths. There will be deaths if I just completely stop.
Or
now.
there will be fucking I don't know, lung rehabilitation.
Oh, there'll be lung
There's
rehabilitation.
just
There'll
the
only
end
be
of the
one
year
death.
Hmm?
There'll only be one death.
Yeah, it
Because
won't
you
be
don't
multiple.
go out.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but you see, that was another thing.
Could be
It
the
was bought-
postman as well.
Oh,
See,
poor
we ended up having this
Kent.
conversation, and like even Fiona was saying, she goes, "Look, it's bad for you," blah 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 blah, and all the rest of it. And I go, "Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is." And but the clincher was when she turned around, she goes, "But Siri's always beside you, 24/7, and she's
She's
breathing
also
it all in."
smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I went, "Oh, okay, all right. If I've got to consider somebody else, that's a different kettle of fish."
That's
Yeah.
what stopped me.
Yeah.
Because when I found out Jackie was pregnant, it was just like, oh, that's it, I'm stopped. And I stopped 40 a day, and I stopped.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy, but when you think there's somebody else in this equation now who has no say in the matter, and they need every help they can get,
Yeah.
that was it.
You're echoing, Robbie.
Yeah, why are you the only one echoing?
I don't know, because I haven't got.
Is it my fault?
It's not me.
mute
No,
myself.
because nobody else seems to be
No,
echoing.
nobody's echoing. It's just Robbie.
It's just Robbie. It's always Robbie.
No. Am I echoing now? Echoing now?
No.
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 I haven't touched
do?
it.
Hey, Kent, come fix this on Christmas Day.
Hey, I got a special tool for that.
Is it called a trash can?
Yeah, you put it on your right foot, put it on the floor,
He's echoing
Right.
now.
See, now Kent's echoing.
and then what?
So weird.
Don't blame me.
And then apply pressure. And it'll be
I was
fine.
muted, not me.
Oh, so I think it's Ken. When Ken.
Is
no,
it
not
Ken?
Kent. Not Kent. Ken. When
Flux,
he,
just call him Flux.
Yeah, Flux. When Flux unmutes, people echo.
funny. That's what people
Yeah, it's
call
probably my
me.
fault. I have to adjust some things in here with my mic real quick.
Oh, gotcha.
So you didn't get anything, Cressy?
I got Christmas dinner. That was really nice.
Yeah, were you at a fucking castle or something?
That's
like,
what you said. Sort of, yeah. Yeah, sort of. My mate's house is rather good.
Cool.
And his wife, when she cooks, bear in mind there was only 4 people there, she cooks for about 35 people.
fuck
It's
it,
ridiculous.
Jesus,
And like,
I'm
yeah, it's
sick.
got these massive wooden table and sort of chairs that you would see in a castle, sort of thing.
Right.
So,
And then that big old wooden beam across the ceiling, and
yeah, and all the cutlery is all gold plated. It's totally over the top.
oh,
It's
it
ridiculous.
is, but it's so seasoned.
It was a really nice meal.
What was that? So what were all those dishes? Can you bring the picture over from?
God.
Did you put
It-
it on Discord, Chris, or was that on WhatsApp?
It's on WhatsApp, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
It's just everything. So any type of meat you can think of, she's cooked that. Every type of vegetable, she's cooked that. Just mad.
It was a
Absolutely
beautiful
mental.
spread.
Wow.
What was that cake that was wrapped up?
Oh,
Was it a cake?
yeah. There was a Christmas cakey thing as well. We
Yeah.
had double whipped cream and some other cream with something in it. I can't remember.
Double
what it was.
whipped cream.
Jeez.
It, well, I said it was quad whipped. It wouldn't even come out.
Not content with abusing it once.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
It was like whipped to death cream, as I called it.
Can I just say, on behalf of all us British people,
Uh-huh.
you Americans have a house that's too big. Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
we
yes.
know this.
Yeah.
I saw you. Was looking at you where you were sitting. Where was it? Dining room or something that you were in yesterday.
In the kitchen area.
Yeah, a kitchen. Right, kitchen area. Your
Yeah.
kitchen area is the entire size of my ground floor of the entire house, including the front driveway.
Having said that, do you remember Dom's kitchen?
Oh,
You could play football in Dom's kitchen.
Yeah,
Good
he
God.
did
You know.
have a big house.
He
Yeah.
had a very big house.
We are going to downsize next
Yeah.
year. We're actually. I know we built this studio from ground up.
Yeah.
What people call the log cabin. It's 300 square feet. But we're going to put this house up for sale, and we are going to downsize.
It's just way too big.
to like a 2-bedroom. We're getting older. We don't have kids living with us anymore. And this 4 acres is just crazy to maintain every year with allergies. And
I was going to say, especially if you're allergic to grass and spend like 3 days cutting it. Not the
Yeah.
most intelligent of ideas.
no,
Is it?
it's
No.
not. It's not. And you know, we bought this house sight unseen, but that's only because we weren't trying to travel 2,000 miles just to go see it and come
Yeah.
back. And
Yeah.
we were like,
Yeah.
you know what? It's in the budget. It has the property, and it's
But we always feel like any location or any state or anything like that, we never regret what we did. We always say it served its purpose.
right.
So
It's like
the
a
purpose,
stepping stone. You've
Yes.
got into Indiana. You're cool.
Mhm.
Yep.
Now you can properly look around and find something that's a bit
Right.
more suitable for you.
Because we didn't
Yeah.
really come here for us. We came here for my brother, and now that he's getting squared away, we're like, okay, well, I don't, our job is done here. There's not much really left to do here. I don't think we'll move out of Indiana.
Yeah, no, I like
We
Indiana.
like Indiana.
Yeah.
We're just gonna find somewhere smaller.
Homegrown says, wanna swap?
I think I'm going to be coming out to Indiana fairly
really?
soon.
Yeah,
for,
where are you at?
for a couple of different things. I'm on the East Coast, so I'm in Delaware. I'm about
Oh, okay.
35, 40 minutes south of Philly.
Oh, the East Coast.
Yeah. But my daughter, her best friend lives in Indiana. Plus, I'll be out that way for some events and stuff that I'll be doing. So
Well, yeah, we're pretty close to Sweetwater. We're like
Yeah, that's-
maybe
I'll probably
15
be
minutes
heading-
from
Oh,
Sweetwater.
I'll probably be heading there.
We're too close to
Yeah,
Sweetwater.
we are too close
Yeah,
to
not pretty close.
Sweetwater.
We're too close to Sweetwater.
are you inside of it? Is that what's happening?
Man, we spend too much time
Yeah.
there. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Fair. I can't blame you though. I mean,
Mind you, prices is another big, massive difference between the two countries as well.
Oh, I'm sure because the shipping alone for you guys, I bet is
I
not
could
good.
I could tell you guys stories about the misconceptions of how product product pricing and things work between the US versus overseas. There is so much misconceptions and confusion as to how that stuff works, and it's actually a nightmare, because as a company you want to be fair to everybody, but man, is it the reality of worldwide distribution and worldwide social media makes things very difficult nowadays.
I have a question for you, Ken. Mr. Flux, I have a question.
Shoot.
What went on in the minds of the people at Erica Synths, where they have the steam pipe, they have the VST. Luke was telling me it's nothing new. What got into their mind to develop the hardware version when you can go and acquire the VST?
Well, I don't know who Luke is, so
Synseeker.
Okay, so I would say that that's not necessarily true, that it's not anything new. That's kind of like saying, okay, well, like if you have a VST, it can't be iterated on. It's like, well, no, a lot of development goes into that kind of thing. It is not the same as just a straight VST. It's not.
So if I went and got the VST, I wouldn't have everything that the
You would be in, put it this way, that'd be like you'd be in the stadium, but you wouldn't be, at home
playing
plate.
the game.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's you can get some great sound. Like the VST is great. Don't get it twisted. Like I've used the VST for many years now, and it's really nice. I love the reverb on that thing. Like it's a really cool sound, and the way that you program that thing is cool. But even if you look at the VST, the multiple versions that are out there, even you'll notice it's not the same knobs on there. Like it's not the same controls. Not everything is not one-to-one between them. And there was a lot of refinement that went into the two devices. VST versus the hardware. A lot of refinement that went in there, and it shows. And I would also say that like. Also, so what? Like, the truth of it is really let's pretend for a second that it's 100% the same, right? So what? Like, hardware and software are not the same thing. Like, they're not. It's the inspiration, the method of movement, how you perform with something. It's not the same thing. I don't care if it's analog. I don't care if it's digital. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Like.
A picture of a knob is not the same as having a fucking knob, is it?
True.
Yeah.
And even if you map everything
In
perfectly,
so many
right?
ways.
Well, so Fiona thinks.
Even if you map everything perfectly, it's not the same. Like the way that you work with hardware versus the way that you work with software. I'm not saying one is better than the other, or like I love both, right? I'm also a guy who people will shit talk on people who use presets, right? I think that's insane to shit talk on something like that. I
don't think Synseeker
I do
was
both.
shit talking.
No. I'm not saying that he is. Don't.
Okay.
I'm not saying that he is. I'm just
Okay.
saying in general, it's the same sort of discussion where it's like people want to try to equate different methods of inspiration
Right.
that are not equatable, right? So just because you work in one way doesn't invalidate another way. And I've been in plenty of sessions where having access to something like a mini Moog in person versus an like there's so many extremely good VST versions of the mini Moog. Like, let's be honest, like they're fantastic ones, right? Ever since like zero feedback delay filters came out, and that sort of thing, it's like, dude, the difference between a really high quality digital filter and an analog filter, it's getting more and more negligible, and it's it can just sound fantastic. And in some instances, using software is way better for me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But in other instances, like I'm coming up with things completely different on a piece of hardware than I would if I was using the plugin. It's not to say that it sounds better or worse or whatever. Like sometimes the noise in my Eurorack will drive me insane, right? So I'll hop over and I'll start using one of my modulars in VST form. And I don't have to deal with that kind of like power noise or other issues like that. But sometimes those kinds of things are needed to get me to the next step of like, that next inspiration process.
Yeah.
On Boxing Day, Luke Synseeker says, "I'm offended, Ken. Bitch, throw down."
Oh,
But then he quickly responds with teasing.
listen.
He's teasing.
Fight me, bro.
Arm wrestle.
I'll have these arguments all day long.
Arm
This is
wrestle.
why I'm in the business.
Yeah.
I'll
and
tell you
then,
what is a stupid idea.
Huh.
I saw today, and I still can't believe I saw it. They're doing a live action version of How to Train Your Dragon
Just watch the animation.
using a CG dragon.
What? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Hello.
They could have rented my bearded dragon, because I need to recoup some cash.
Yeah, I'm sure China has a bunch of dragons.
I'll
Right?
tell you what, if there was a category with called the Search for Money, this would be in it.
Which is like Dumb and Dumber too, isn't it?
Fucking ridiculous is that?
What's the point?
There's what is the point? If you're going to use a CG dragon and then have human interactions...
The animation of the movie, the animated version, is great.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's like, all you can do is make it worse. Why are you trying to bother?
Well, they're
It's
doing
just-
it scene for scene. Absolutely. Every camera angle exactly the same as the animated film.
Stupid.
The hell is the point of that?
Yeah.
Don't know.
It's not the only one either, is it? You've done another one.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Kosh Dukai, Cobra, we call him Cobra Kai. He says we need a spreadsheet with who's who and what names symptoms of reality call us.
What, behind your backs? You don't want to know. Seriously, you really, really don't want to know.
Yeah, we have nicknames for everybody. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, this is a question for everyone.
I've updated mine, by the way, if you noticed.
I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
see that
yeah.
crest the mess. I like that.
This is a question for everyone. You don't have to get too in depth with it because you're fucking nerds. But this question was asked to me, and this is based on your experience and your experience alone. What's the best filter you've ever operated?
Steiner Parker
Brita.
Synthicon.
Oh, Jesus, one at a time. Good
Jesus,
God.
who said what?
I
Brita.
don't know.
Brita?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who's Brita? What?
Makes your water taste delicious.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I was going to say a coffee filter.
yeah, I was like, I think Brita's a coffee filter, but they also do water.
Steiner Parker Synthicon.
Say that 5 times
Ooh,
fast.
that's-
not drinking.
that's a nice
or
5 times
coffee.
fast.
Yeah,
There you
go ahead.
No problem.
Is that
Yeah.
is that the cough I just developed?
Yeah.
Dude,
Okay.
filters, that's actually like my world right now is I'm bouncing between a whole bunch of different filters over here and exploring them. And
That's not filters, Flux. That's a madness.
it's there's some filters. But man, what is the best?
Just pick one that you like and
See, this is
A
why I
small
got in trouble.
synopsis
This is
as
why I
why.
got in trouble at Brooklyn Synth Expo because what's his name? Sanjay C came around and he was interviewing people about like what's like the best synthesizer ever or something to that effect. And you know, I'm standing at the Hydrasynth booth, of course, and I said the Mini Moog. And everybody looked at me like, you said the wrong thing. And I'm like, listen, I'm taking in legacy here. Like, I'm taking in what it did for synthesizers as a whole, right? So in that world, I look at that and I'm like, you know, if it wasn't for what happened with Bob Moog, then, you know, a lot of us would not be here. And
right. But that's
It-
a stationary.
Well, in fairness,
but that's a
Ken, the question
stationary
wasn't-
icon.
The question wasn't one. Was
Yeah.
what do you think is the greatest synthesizer ever that you're standing next to?
yeah,
If that was the question,
well, and that's what I said. I said if you're talking modern, like it's
Yeah.
like if I had a desert island, like I can do more on it than I can do with just about anything else, and enjoy doing it. I should say because I've had other synths that might do more, but they're less enjoyable to do them on. So, which is a big factor, and that gets back to like the hardware versus software thing. But for filters, I really, really, really love filter banks. I just think they're so fun and cool. I mean, technically that's multiple filters, but like, I really love filter banks. So yeah, I don't know.
But I think Luke has it right. Synseeker. He says it's like asking which beer is best. You might as well ask you know which ones you don't like
Right.
and which ones you do.
Right. Thank you, Luke. Like, just isolate it down. Like, when you say the mini Moog and Bob and all that, to me, that's like an isolated platform in which many things had pathways from. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it started something, but a lot of good came from Moog that was put into a different art form or just, you know, a different process. Which filter just says, I'd love to have this on every fucking synth?
I'm not really a filter person, so I don't really care.
Yeah, Cressy is a sample.
Still the Steiner Parker Syntacom.
Yeah, but this thing is, if you take a filter and put it onto one synth and then put it onto another synth, it's not always going to do the same thing, because what's being fed into the filter is different. What's coming out of the filter and the way it's processed before it gets to the audio outs is different. So it's difficult to say, you know, what's the filter you would put on everything, because it will sound different on everything, because everything else has a different architecture, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the Steiner Parker filter on Arturia's Brute series of synthesizers works really well because of the Brute oscillator. Because of the way that the Brute oscillator sounds, the Steiner Parker filter works really nicely on that. But also, so does a ladder filter. But you put a Steiner Parker filter on something else, it might not sound that good.
Right.
It does, because I've tried it.
So.
But I'm using that. I'm saying as an example.
Yeah,
you
no,
take,
I am.
you take
No,
filter A.
Yeah,
You know.
I understand.
So
But
you're saying,
with that one I have.
But you're saying it's strictly because of what synth it comes off of, essentially. That's why it shines like that?
Yeah, I mean, you got a 15 volt waveform on a Steiner Parker. That's a big old powerful signal.
If I was going to choose like just one synth's filter, like as like what makes like the hair stand up on the back of my arm, probably the MS-20.
The MS-20.
It like I like ugly. Like
Yeah, it's
like
gritty, isn't it?
I should
Yeah.
let
I
that
like
be
it,
known.
yeah.
Like
I like that on the wave state, by the way.
Yeah, I love like that ugly dissonance and just growl and just unruliness, which is also why I like the Steiner Parker choice here. Like you can do some really intense stuff there, and I love the way the high pass and the low pass can work together, doing like this bass boost on an MS-20 that is like, you can replicate it in other things, but when you do it on an MS-20, you're like, every time you're just like, holy shit. It's badass.
And that is a perfect example of a filter sounding different when you use it on a different synth.
Yep.
Because there's 49 of them in a PS3200, and it doesn't sound like an MS-20.
And I think
Ever.
gain staging as a whole is so important. You can have. I was reading a thread the other day where people were talking about the CEM SEM filters, right? And somebody was saying, "Oh, they all sound the same," blah blah blah. And I'm like, "No, they don't.
No,
like, it really depends on what synth they're in, even if it's the same chip in different synths, because the gain staging makes a drastic difference, and not just the gain staging, but how they're calibrated, everything about them. Like that whole signal flow makes such a massive difference. And then you take into account the VCA stage after that, and how you're piping out of the filter into your VCA can also make a massive difference. Like the distortion and saturation that takes place on both sides of the filter is so important to getting a sound that you particularly care for, you know?
Well,
Because
73, what is it, a 3372?
for that's in like the expander.
Yeah, they put that in the expander and the Akai, the X600 and stuff like that. And that sounds totally different again, even though it's supposed to be to, 3320s, but it doesn't. It's got a completely different, it's a milder sound, so you put it into the bigger polythings.
So that's
The more keys,
literally
the better.
That's literally what I was showing over here. Is I have a 3372 filter up above, and then a 3379 below. And they're supposed to be. So this is, I don't know if you can see where I'm.
Yeah.
This is the 106-6 expander filter, and then below that is the A107 multi-mode morphing filter. So technically, those SEM chips are supposed to be, they're supposed to be the same filter, just with different VCA and mixing built in, right? Supposed to be the same sound, but they don't sound the same, and they have those two modules have different gain staging, preamp stage into it. And they sound different. Like, they don't sound the same.
So I think I figured out who's been sending all the drones.
Well, it's like Manny's saying about monosynths and polysynths. They're different environments.
Yeah.
But Moog seemed to, I don't know, that got a bit blurred when they did the memory Moog. Because as a polysynth, it's really trying to be 6 monosynths. The way they set up the filters in that. Which is obviously where it gets a lot of its power.
I love the Sub 37 filter, but my favorite filter right now for me, from my experience, out of everything I have, even over the Hydrosynth, is the Create Audio East Beast filter.
That thing sounds great. Yeah.
It's fucking a beast.
Yep. East Beast is dope. I got a chance to play with that right when it was coming out, and I was actually kind of shocked at how good it sounded, and it's really not an expensive synth.
It's not. It is not. And it
good.
It
Not
dwarfs the Hydrosynth
Kent,
to me.
Did Kent say not good?
Yeah.
I liked it.
To Manny.
He's
Said
answering.
about and how did that work out, Kent?
Oh.
Yeah, not good.
The thing I would say there is also, again, dealing with monosynth versus poly is a massive difference in how you're handling things.
Yeah.
A Crazy Rabbit he's like totally confused and is back in his little rabbit hole. But he had a question and says, what's the best filter the average Joe can afford?
I was just about to say.
The Create Audio.
I'm going to jump in right
There's
now.
so many, though. Like, that's the...
Cressy, go ahead.
Yeah. If you're going to put it to a public vote, every filter you've talked about so far, no one would have a clue about. It's going to be a public vote of what is the best filter on the planet, they will say the one inside the TB303. Because that is the most heard filter in music.
It's
a recognizable
really
thing.
cool filter, though, too.
That's
like,
true.
It
when
is.
you
Oh,
take
yeah.
the 303, right?
It's very playable. as a
And you
filter.
try to recreate the 303 sound in other things, right? It's especially for how certain people grew up with that sound, and it's like so ingrained in that culture. Like, if you came up in the acid house and acid techno world, like, you know that so well that it's like, it's very specific. And then pair it with specific distortion pedals, if you've got a tube screamer or something on it, like, it's a very, very specific thing. And when you try to recreate that exact sound using other synth setups that are like maybe similar slopes or whatever, you find, like, man, like, it really does have something special. Like, it's not just like, oh, okay, well, like, this is just like your typical Roland filter. Like, it's doing something that just sounds unique.
And the beauty of it is it wasn't designed to do the thing it's become famous for.
Total accident, isn't it?
Complete accident.
Yeah.
But there again, there is also, on the other hand, just because it's popular doesn't mean it's good.
Right, but it also depends on which type of synthesis are you going for. Are you going for out of control West Coast synthesis, or are you going for more melodic East Coast synthesis? Like, there's a
he's
way
brought
to
up the
choose
East-West thing.
There's
He's brought up the whole East-West thing.
You have to choose the filter for what you want to ultimately do, right?
Best filter is the Greek islands, mate. That's the one.
Okay, so Sense Seeker is saying, dinner's ready. Have fun, gang. Ken, on your life, don't come to Boston.
Listen, nobody wants to go to Boston.
Or
Nobody wants to go to
do-
Boston. Let's be
wait,
real.
hold on.
Ooh,
And then he
man.
says, or do, I'll make cookies.
Oh, shit.
Go Eagles. So
Oh, damn.
That's what my brother would
Oh,
say.
yeah. That's Lamar's favorite team.
yeah, there you go.
And they're doing really good, too.
Yes.
So why'd you say that, Robbie? I'm bringing up the East Coast, West Coast. It's truly a thing.
it's a thing for some people.
Right.
Not in the UK.
I think no. I think it's one of these things. Everyone likes to have labels and pigeonholes and stuff, and just Bob didn't issue everything. He didn't put keyboards on stuff. He didn't have keyboard. He if you want to do that whole thing, Don on the West Coast was like, no keyboards. No, well, fuck that. We don't need that. We do all of this way. Bob was like that. Mm-hmm. He had to be persuaded to put keyboards on his synthesizers. Mm-hmm. So technically,
Herb Deutsch was
it's Herb
instrumental in really making that stuff happen.
Yeah, and I just think it's one of those kind of people. Thankfully, they talk about it less and less. But synthesis is synthesis, and they just do it all. There's so many similarities and crossover points. There's more. What's this phrase? They've got more in common than they have, than they don't have in common.
Right.
And I think there was a time, and thankfully it's not so much now, that people used to say, it's like rap. I hate the whole West Coast rap thing. I'm East Coast.
Right.
Why? It's all bloody good.
Right.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Americans, they got East Coast, West Coast. Sounds cool, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Here it'd be like it's knowledge or Cardiff, isn't it?
It's not West. We're more north, south than east, west, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're thick. We're long and thin.
I just think it's more genre based, and I think they're just looking at it as a genre more than they're looking at it as a negative point of view.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just how I'm looking.
But it's labels. I'm not a fan of labels.
Yeah.
As in, pigeonholing.
Today, I'm not a fan of theremins.
Okay.
I really,
can we just add
really
in
wish I didn't buy that.
Can we just add in there are certain synthesizers that don't have any filter whatsoever?
I present to you my back wall, devoid of all filters, and all the better for it.
Yeah.
I got a proper 5 with none in.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be like that.
Shh. Don't tell the customer that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, to me, so the question about like the affordable filters, man, it's such a lovely world that we live in now. Because like when I first got into modular, the whole reason I got into modular was because I couldn't afford a Mini Moog and I couldn't afford an Oberheim 2 voice, and I was like, man, like I really want that stuff. And there were modules that were doing that sort of thing. So like it was just, let me get one filter. Let me get one oscillator and like just kind of build from there. And over time it grew into an obsession. But point being is like pretty much most filters are extremely affordable now. You can get like most topologies, like you can get a filter of just about any topology for probably under $150 at this point, like darn near. Yeah. And it's just a matter of how fancy do you want it after that fact? Yeah. Like how much control do you want over the filter? Do you want CV over resonance? Do you want CV over just filter cutoff? There's lots of different levels to it, to where you can get it, more and more interesting. What kind of build quality do you want? Whatever. Like, I've got the Catch. It's called the Catch VCF A, I believe, which is basically the MS-20 filter, the low pass version of it in a module, and it's specifically meant to be super cheap, right?
Right.
But it still feels fine in your hand, and it sounds amazing, and it's every bit as good as I've got, much more expensive filters. And I don't think, when I'm patching my synths up, I don't think for a second of, oh, I'm going to patch to this one because it's more expensive. I patch to it because I'm like, okay, this is going to get me the sound where I want to be, right? Mm-hmm. So like never once do I patch up based on monetary value of a module. Like that never crosses into my mind. It sometimes makes me sad that I'm not using a module and it's costing me a lot of money just sitting there.
Oh, shit, yeah.
But for the most part, like it's, as long as, and here's the thing, there's a lot of stuff that I have that's built and is very expensive and is less quality than stuff that I have that's cheaper. And it could be for various reasons. It could be because maybe it's more collectible, so it's more expensive on that level, but maybe it's just a situation where the designers missed something or whatever. Like I have certain things that have bleed in the signal where it shouldn't have bleed and that sort of thing. And these can be on really high-end pieces of gear whereas I have some stuff that's maybe a little bit more simple but costs less and sounds better. A great example of that is I've got some very expensive drum machines, and I tell people all the time, and I say this with no dog in the race, Arturia's Drum Brute Impact, the kick drum in that thing sounds better than 90% of the analog drum modules that I have in my rack. That kick drum is one of the best analog kick drums you can get, period. Like, it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And that thing's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Like, and it comes with a sequencer and all that. So it's like,
Yeah. if I'm
Oh, jeez.
dude,
yeah.
that kick is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid how nice that thing is.
if
And it's
I'm
just,
if I'm the crazy rabbit, yeah,
Ooh, that sounds
shit,
nice.
That's chunky.
And that's without the distortion.
Wow.
and I got a prototype of it that like even has like a slightly
Come on, Robbie.
slightly more aggressive tone to it. And I'm like,
look
dude,
at Kent. There you
it's
go,
so
Kent.
good.
Get on,
Yo,
boy.
man, yo.
Yo.
Yeah, there you go, Cressy. Come on, Cressy, start throwing you down some
That shit
raps.
sounded good. Yeah, if I'm the crazy rabbit, look at the East Beast or the West Pass for a semi-modular and have fun with it, because you're getting a really good filter on both ends. And it's going to teach you a little bit about both sides of the world.
Man, Crazy Rabbit said the Drum Brute Impact was sold as it left no impact.
and that's
on
exactly it. Like, not
Wow.
everything is going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah,
that's one of
very
the
true.
best kick drums in my studio. And I've got, drum machines that cost, 5 times what that thing costs with, And that's the other thing is he also says, I'll stick with my iPad. And
Yeah.
dude, I love me some digital drums. Like, I
Right.
discovered this much later on when I was like always lusting after 808s and always lusting after like analog drum machines and whatnot. And I started discovering like, yeah, I still prefer using samples like 9 out of 10 times. And a lot of the times I'll sample my analog drums and then stack them with my digital. It's one of those things where you have to have your own sound and you have to know what you like. And I'll spend somebody was talking on Facebook, like I think it's like Synthesizer Zone or something, one of those groups, and they were talking about how modular guys will post pictures of their rig and then someone will ask, oh, well, what's it sound like? And they won't comment back. And my reply to that was, well, how are you supposed to answer a dumbass question like that? If you see somebody with a huge studio filled with 19-inch rack gear, and I say, hey, what's that sound like? The hell does that even mean? Like,
Yeah.
a rack is a rack.
Right.
All it is like a way to hold a whole bunch of different gear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it sounds different every single time that I patch it up, right? And
Um,
it's,
James has the best beat, though, out of all of you guys. Can't beat the kick sound at the local pub when they are trying to get me out at last orders.
that's fair. That's very
Jesus Christ, James.
Oh, Dyson.
I'll show you,
What
This
fucking
dude.
clown, this dude.
Yeah.
No, that's how your rack sounds.
You
The
wanna hear
question
how my
should be,
rack sounds?
how
Yeah.
tall is your rack?
how tall is it?
Yeah.
Sounds rude. doesn't
Well,
it?
it's a question you can answer, surely.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
I'm
so what does
thinking-
all that sound like?
5 something. Like 5 foot something.
Ooh.
Oh, it's as tall as me.
Mine's
I'm
about
like
a foot.
5'2".
But yeah, like, I mean, that thing's going to sound different every time I use it. And so I see that kind of stuff and I'm just like, I'll spend entire evenings where I'll just explore, okay, how does, an oscillator sound FMing this particular filter, and where can I get like the sweet spots on it, and then I'll just memorize that stuff so that I'm not even making a composition, and I'm not mad that I spent an entire evening or an entire weekend just doing something like that, and people will be like, oh, well, you didn't make any music, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Next time I need that specific sound, I know exactly how to get it. Like,
Right.
and that's super important to me, because when I have inspiration of an idea of like, oh, I want this to sound like this, I can do that. It's the same as like, a pianist who practices their scales constantly, and it's like, if they can't play it fluidly, then that scale is near useless to them, right?
Yeah.
But when they practice it enough and it's useful to them, they can nail it. It's the same with sound design.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cressy, what drove you away from synthesis and put you more towards sample-based music?
Do you mean as in making sounds rather than just calling them up?
Right, because it seems like you just went more towards sample-based than full-on keyboard action and.
Yeah, I just want to make songs, so I don't give a fuck. So if you know whatever makes it work is the way to go. So if it's sample-based or if it's, I mean, I've got the S1, I've got a Nanos Verg. I do have synthesizers, and do have the occasional play, but you know. My goal isn't making a synthesizer sound.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is making a song. So, you know, different goals for different people. Some people like to sculpt sounds and stuff. And I think it probably all started because I really got into synthesizers in the early 80s, and that's when we started having presets. And we had the type of synth that you go, oh shit, how the hell would you program this? Because you're not money, so you haven't got a clue. So what you do, you go out and buy a card that's got sounds on it for a DX or a whatever it was, an FBO or something like that. So I was never really big into making sounds. I was more into trawling through a load of presets and finding one that worked with the thing that I'm trying to play. That helps me get to the end goal, which is making a song.
Yeah.
So you just found it as a means to slow you up than actually being productive.
I don't. To me, it would be a distraction from my end goal. My end goal is making a tune. So whatever gets you there quickest. I mean, some of it might be the good and the bad of samples are you can get instant. Wow, that's really cool, but sometimes it's not. It's okay, but it isn't the perfect thing. And to change a sample to make it the perfect thing is very difficult. Whereas if you have a synthesized version of that, you can then sculpt it how you want. So it depends. I don't know. It's a difficult question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, 'cause at this point, you're also saying like half the gear I have now is null and void.
But
No,
see, I think it depends on the person.
Or do you just
too.
use it as a library for something you can go back on and go,
No,
I think I have this on the shelf. I'll go and.
I do guest sims. So I have a basic core, whatever I'm going to use. Might be an MPC, might be a SP404, might be the KO2 to bring something together. And then when you actually like get it, if it's not going to be like a jammed version, it's going to be like a recorded version of something, then I'll drag something in like a guest synth of the song. So I've had a few moments talking to Inky about how she had too many synthesizers, and until she pointed out that I have 29 of them as well. So, so yeah, I'll usually pick a guest synth just to put like the icing on the cake, give it a different slant on something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, or especially if I haven't used something for absolutely ages, thinking I really ought to like try and drag that out. Like I've dragged out a Blofeld out, and that's been on 2 tracks, and I've had it since 2010. So that's a bit mad. And I've got 1 track with a Nanos Verg on, and that's the only time it's ever been recorded. That's ridiculous. I've had that since like 2010.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, synthesizers they're interesting and they're really cool. Like I did a jam a while ago with the Roland S1 compact and the T8, and that became that as a song got turned into a song because I took those 2 down to Studio B and I'm just playing around with that whilst having my burger, and like I was thinking it might only be 4 notes, but this is enough. This will do a song.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't need you don't have to have multi-timbral 20 or 100 tracks of something to make a song. Sometimes a song can be a basic drum beat and a little arpeggiated something on top, and that's it. That's your song. You're done.
Yeah.
You know, you can over-egg things. You can definitely over-egg stuff.
But I was gonna say, like, it's different for everybody, right? Like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's just how I work.
Cressy loves to work that way, and he excels at that way. The stuff that he creates is beautiful and sometimes even magical, right?
Right.
And then for like you, for example, you absolutely love creating your own patches, and you excel at it,
Right.
and then create your own magical stuff as well.
But you know what the downfall is in creating your own patch? You spend a lot of fucking time doing it.
But okay, so that part doesn't matter, right? Because the time that you spent creating it, do you enjoy it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then who cares how long
And
you
it makes
take
me
it?
feel good when my mentor goes, man, you started that patch from scratch? I go, yeah. He goes, walk me through it, because that is nice.
There you go.
And then that makes you feel good.
So
like,
then
oh,
the time you spent is irrelevant, right?
yeah. Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all a journey, isn't it? The journey is you're trying to end up with a tune that's interesting. If your journey starts with sculpting a sound, that's how your journey starts.
Exactly.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
Right.
There's no right or wrong or best or not not the ideal. It's like everybody's different. Music's
Yes.
all sorts of fucking music.
Yeah.
So however
Yeah.
you get there is the right way, because if you end up
Yep.
at your destination, then you're done.
Yep. Everybody in our chat currently, 30 plus odd people who are here right now who create music, they did it correctly for them.
Yeah, a lot of my stuff, it will start with the idea of a sound. Like, if I just hear a sound that inspires me, that's where the song will then go to. Like,
Yeah.
that'll
Yeah.
be, and a lot of the times, that's where I need to be, as opposed to where I want to be.
Right.
Because
Right.
sometimes if I try to force something to where I want to be, I can spend all night working on it and I'll never be happy with it.
God, yes, Flux.
Yeah.
Tell me all about it.
Yeah, that will drive me insane. Like, and I do that more often than I care to admit. But I
Right.
try to just focus more on, like, hey, this is the sound that's it just works, right? Like,
Right.
it's speaking to my emotions at that moment. Where is my dragon going?
Behind you.
Probably in your hoodie.
Yeah.
I feel him running back behind me.
I used to have like 4 of those things.
Yeah. Like Lamar said, his journey right now at the moment is skills, and he's learning all his skills.
Yeah. You know, Kent, Hog Rider, has been playing this big old huge luscious sound. Now, I don't
for about a year now.
okay.
Oh, it's
But-
so
You're getting there.
beautiful, though.
I dare not ask him which synthesizer it is. What I do is now I'm going to the Hydrosynth and I am just beating myself to the ground on how to create that sound from scratch. And it's just been
The whole sound.
balling the paper up and throwing it away.
The
'Cause
whole sound?
The whole sound's like, I don't even know where to start.
It's not all Hydra. That's why.
Oh, shit.
You start off with CS80 Darkness. It's preset 013 Bank A.
Well, I don't have that.
I believe that was. I think Paul made that one, right? Or no? Or was that Sun God Ra?
Let's have a check. See, 13. It's raw.
Yeah, he's got some great presets in
It's
there, man.
one of the factories, isn't it?
Yep.
That one.
He makes some beautiful, like, classic analog type sounds.
Yeah.
on
So,
there.
so you guys are fans of presets too. You guys don't strike me as a guy that's like, oh, you can't create your own shit. Fuck you. You're not good.
No. What
Okay.
what it is I have a template that I use for writing. Right. So I have this sound. It's plinky. That can also back up as piano. Or piano parts, because it almost has like a piano envelope to it. So if I'm thinking of doing something piano-y, I know that it'll go into that. The backup, which is the strings, and the choir, because I know I'm going to do chords in it, because I'm a chord guy. Just no getting away from it. But that's a nice big chord that has many different frequencies in it, and I'll be able to hear how it sounds when it goes from one chord to another, how well the progression works, how the volume will work throughout the track in just that one sound. So when I've written what I want, Then I start looking for sounds to put in, and then put the track together, but not necessarily go anywhere near this. This is just my writing template, shall we say, for one of a better word, which is why it's always there. Every time I turn the studio on, bink. That's
It's
there.
your musical foundation to build from.
Yeah, exactly. So Vangelis used to do the same thing. He'd have his VP330, the 80, the Emulator 1 for any sort of like weird and wonderfuls that he wanted to do. And that was his template, and he worked with that. And then he'd go off and dig out, the Roland System 100 or whatever to add bits to the track once he had it in his head.
We'll never change it. Don't change it.
No.
Keep
It's, so that's my all-round patch that has all the frequencies. I can bring things in and out to change how that sounds.
Right.
Even though it's just technically, although it's between software library and the Hydra.
So I mean,
it's just a template with all the frequencies that I need to work with. If you see what I mean.
I just want to say something real quick. I fixed it.
Oh,
there
there
you
you
go.
go. Good job.
I just
Did
plugged
you hit
in.
it?
Did you throw it away?
That'll be $29.70.
So you guys love presets, then, right? There's nothing to
If
be
the sound
ashamed
works.
of for using presets. I just
What
want
you've
to
got
get
to
that
remember is
stigma past.
there's no such thing as a preset.
Yep.
If you've got a synthesizer and you have presets on it, inverted commas, they were sounds that were created from scratch, mate.
Yeah.
Right.
They're all the same thing.
Prince always used presets. Always.
Really?
Oh,
Always.
I'm
You
in
listen
good
to
company
Love
then.
Sexy. You listen to Love Sexy. It is an homage to the D50 and its presets. Plus,
Here's
it's
the thing that I
other
found.
stuff as well.
One of the main things that I found over time has been, and just being in the studio with like fantastic musicians and like world class, record producers and whatnot. A common thing that I've seen, and it's not everybody. There's always exceptions to the rule, but a very common thing that I've seen is people that really excel to a certain level musically usually excel in a specific area, right? So I know excellent, pianists and keyboardists who are not great at sound design, right? And they will freely admit that that's not their strong suit, right? And I know sound designers who are not great at playing, right? But they are phenomenal sound designers, right? And I don't think that you should try to wall yourself off from one side by saying, oh, I'm not going to use something from the other. Like, as a producer, if I have access to an insanely gifted keyboardist, I'm going to pull him in and be like, hey, would you mind playing this part on here? If I had a bassist come in, would you mind doing this X, Y, Z, right? I have no issue doing that and directing the track as such, right? And it's the same with presets. If you're a fantastic player, and even if you're a crap player and you just like the sound, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
it's not about that. It's about getting the emotion down and transferring your emotion to someone else, right?
Right.
Or even if it's... Listen, there is nothing wrong with making music for yourself. And I try to tell people this all the time because I see people who like rag on people for not posting up enough music or whatever else. And I'm like, no. If you make sound that's therapeutic to yourself, if you're making music that just makes you get through life a little bit better, that's fine. You don't have to perform for somebody else.
Right.
Some people
Yeah.
like doing that. Some people don't. And I would never critique somebody who wants to keep that to themselves. You know?
Yep. Uncle
Right.
Chrome says it all the time. I make music for me.
Right.
Well, this one thing I always see it on Facebook all the time. There will always be somebody who will go, "Oh, Vangelis only used presets." It doesn't matter what the article's about or whatever, and there will be some guy that will put that in. What they don't really realise is, yes, Vangelis did use the presets, but anybody who uses the CS80 will be able to tell you that yes, there is a range of controls on that front panel, but you're not going to get very far away from that selection of presets.
Right.
It's always going to be almost sound like guitar 1 and 2, almost going to sound like organ or harpsichord or whatever, or string 3 or 4 or whatever it is. It's kind of has a limited palette, so it's all about nuance. But then with those filters, the power and the playability separates it you know, again, especially from instruments of the time. And well, you know what it's like. I'd go brass 1 and 2, do a couple of notes down the bottom end, and everybody's jizzing all over the place.
Right.
Because it's just like, oh, that is so nice, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a preset.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does its job. It makes people go, oh man.
And I don't mean to pawn
That's
it
it.
off on like someone else is having an issue with whether they should use presets or not. I know when I first got into this 2 years ago, so I'm really young at this, I always looked down on myself because I was like, oh, I'm using someone else's artwork. I'm not smart enough to figure it out for myself. But it sounds so good and it's where I want to be. Like, sure, I add just a little bit of modulation on it and then I'll morph it a little bit, but it's just the taste that I need that I don't want to venture far from. You know what I mean? So I used to beat myself up for using presets. It took me, I don't know, up until like maybe 6 months ago to go, oh, it's not bad to use presets. Why?
No.
How did I build this narrative up that I shouldn't be, you know?
Calm
A lot
down.
of people do. A lot of people do. And
What,
live by it
what
as a
about the
mantra.
amount of presets that are called Piano 1 that sound like a piano? That's a preset. It's a piano. Does that mean that you shouldn't use pianos then, ever? That's
Right.
stupid.
Right.
It's dumb.
Right.
What if you have an acoustic and somebody tuned it for you?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't use it now because they preset it to that tuning.
Right?
Okay, fair
Right.
enough.
That's how I always
Right.
look.
Dumb.
That's just like when people say, "Oh, like you're not making real music because you're pressing buttons." I'm like, "What do you think a piano is? That's a whole bunch of buttons."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
It
heard that.
hasn't
I've-
got polyphonic aftertouch
Yeah.
either, has it?
I've heard that a lot. I've heard it more when we were in a live band, my brother and I.
Yeah.
But then I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm fucking tired of relying on people. How do I get away from relying? And she was like, let's go look in the digital world. And then that's where I was able to construct my own band, who just, the only person that was involved in the band was me and my creativity and the will just to do it. And you know what? The machines always showed up. They weren't intoxicated. They weren't drunk. They weren't playing out of key. They weren't fucking, just doing crazy, obscene things with the
If you
drums.
insist, sir. If you insist.
Yeah.
Crazy Rabbit says the alphabet is a preset.
The alphabet is a preset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the things you write with a preset that makes you
Yeah.
do what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
it's like if you buy I don't know, somebody's really famous and you buy their guitar. Does that mean you're now them?
Right.
What's funny
Does it-
is that's actually one of the few things that like I do shy away from, and it's not because the guitar is any worse or anything like that. Sometimes it's because I feel like, well, if I'm paying for that, I'm paying for part of the name, and I'm a miser. Like I don't want to, I'm broke.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah.
but that is like one of my things where I'm always like, mentally in my head, I'm always like, man, I want to sound like myself. I always want to sound like myself. But
Yeah.
presets don't give me that same tinge at all.
No.
Like at all.
No.
And-
I think being so, like, you guys have been doing this for years versus my 2 years. I think I let too many people in my ear, too many people in the door at once, and I just was hearing everything, you know? And
Well, hold on. Think about this.
I
Think about
didn't
this.
know
When you
what
when
to
you lay it
cons-
into a track, right?
Uh-huh.
Don't you mix your track?
Right.
So that preset's out the window then at that point, because if you mix the track, well, then you've changed the EQ, which means the filtering's different, right?
Mhm.
The levels
that's
are
true.
different.
That's
like
true.
if you really think about it, like
Right.
pretty much no matter what you do, at the end of the day, your track is going to still sound slightly different from whatever it is you put it into it.
Mm-hmm.
You can also have the same preset with 10 different people and they all go and do 10 different types of music. Does that mean, and you probably won't even recognize the preset?
When
Depending
I
on what
started-
it's in.
Right.
They're all
Yeah.
going to sound completely
Yeah.
different.
It's them
Yeah.
playing. It's
when
not
I
the
really
preset
started
playing.
in this, I
Yeah.
did. I came up through doing like beat battles, right? Like hip hop beat battles.
Mm-hmm.
And where I grew up at, it was like, you went into the city and we all brought like our MPCs and SP1200s and whatnot, and we would set them up, And this is different from, if you're familiar with beat battles today, they're a lot different than this. But back then, you would bring your drum machines and samplers out there, and when you got there, we would get there early for sound check, and they would give you a sample, and we all had to flip the sample. So we would have all of our rounds of, of our actual beats that we had prepared, but then there would always be a sample flip round, right? And everybody got the same sample. No, not a single battle have I ever been in where the beat was flipped the same. It's always been different, right? And it's the same with a preset, and that's a preset piece of music that people are using,
right?
And it still comes out completely different.
Yeah.
Yep. It's down to the people.
What about you, Robbie? Are you using more presets, or are you finding yourself creating patches?
I always start with presets and pretty much always end with presets that I may have tweaked a little bit, but as Ken was saying, you play around through a bunch of stuff and you find one, you think, oh, actually, I'm going to riff on this for a little while. That moves me at that particular moment in time. And generally, when I find that, I'll fire something up and I'll record it so I don't forget it, and I then call the file after the preset I used so that I know exactly where to go when I want to do that one again. But I would say more in recent years that I've had more analog in my life, because I've mostly always kind of been digital or sampling. I started to play around a little bit more, but that's more. I don't do it with a goal where I say, right, I'm going to try and come up with a bass sound. I kind of can hear it in my head, because that's what I want to use in my track. Invariably, what I will do is I will start building something which is based off of presets. It might be a preset on different presets on different synths, and I might tweak something. I might think, what's getting close? What gets me close to that? Because essentially, the bottom line is I am a lazy bastard.
Right.
And I don't want to be spending too much time. If I'm in the composing vibe, I don't want to be wasting time designing sounds. I'll design sounds when I want to design sounds, or I'll let other people do it for me, because they do a much, much better job. And those people who make the presets, I do a column on presets every week on gearnews.com, and I'm always looking at people's presets and their work, and it's a learning point, because when somebody like Scott McCauley does a whole bank of sounds for this thing, I'm like, how the fuck did he get that right? Let's open everything up.
Yeah.
Let's have a look in. When this gentleman who has just joined us, when I flick through some of his sounds, I'm like, how the hell did he get that? I still don't understand what he does. I still don't get it, which is why I rely on him.
I don't understand what the fuck I do.
You threaten it with a drill, don't you?
I mean, this gentleman here has been responsible for some. Manny, tell them the story of the Cisco.
Okay, before you do, introduce yourself. Like, who are you?
All right.
Yeah.
Who was that mouse man?
I have to apologize in advance because I have a very limited time here, but I could not resist pressing after you threw down the gauntlet. I'm Manny Fernandez, aka Dr. Smith.
Okay, nice to meet you.
I am at the office today. It's this crap, not the studio. Anyway, what do? I've done professional preset designs for most of the classic legacy companies for 35 years. I'd like to joke I have a particular set of skills that I'm very good at. Ken's point is like, don't ask me to play anything, but I'll program the shit out of anything.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, but I guess presets. You know what? Everything in music is about inspiration. Whatever you find inspirational, you go for it. You don't have to make it from scratch, every little bit. So when Marilyn was saying, like, oh, I got to create the whole ball of wax. No, it's like cooking. It's like painting. You grind the flower petals for the color of paint you're going to throw on the canvas? Of course not. You let people give you the building blocks, right? A Lego life is a nice life.
Yeah.
And,
there's a piano in Hydrosynth Deluxe, right? It's called like Deluxe Piano or whatever, right? Rod did it. And it was funny because I was talking to him during development, and we were kind of sharing sound design tips, and we were both working on a piano sound at the time. And he shared his, and I shared mine, right? And I really liked his piano, and I was like, "How did you come about this?" And he was like, "Oh, well, like I was following along and using this technique that I found from Sound on Sound. There's an article from Sound on Sound about using square waves to do piano sounds, and the reasoning being in the odd harmonics and so forth and so on. So anyway." I was like, that's so funny. I was doing the exact same thing. So we were both totally separately and totally across the world referencing the same sound design article as like an inspirational source to creating these piano sounds. And when we compared our piano sounds, they were two totally different sounds. Completely different. But they stemmed from the exact same mindset of how you go about programming this sort of sound. And it was brilliant. And I'll tell you, somebody in here was talking about reverse engineering presets. When it was done, I went back and I reverse engineered his preset, and I built it again, trying to do it to sound more like his. Right? I wanted to learn what he did that made his sound different, because we were both using the same technique and everything. And it still didn't sound the same. I came up with a totally different piano that time. Yeah. And I was just like, man. And he did the same. He was messing with my stuff. And it was just like, even when you come at things from the same angle and same mindset, two people are going to come up with very different sounds, you know?
Yeah, precisely, because just the small discrepancies in the interactions between those particular parameter settings will just give you a slightly different flavor.
Yeah. Are we talking deluxe piano?
Yeah.
What preset number is it?
That one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's A011.
Oh, okay.
On the deluxe.
I can tell you, Kent, my Hydrosynth piano is nothing like either of your guys.
That's right, and I've seen yours as well. I don't know how many you have. You may have multiple at this point.
I don't know.
But that's the thing is like you can also come at it from like an FM standpoint, which
no, never.
You can, yeah, really. Nobody likes FM anyway.
Okay. So Manny.
Hold on. Uncle Chrome has a question. He wants to know if Dr. Synth, what music gear, if any, do you keep in the office?
I have a set of precisely tuned dental drill turbines. No, just kidding. Sometimes I have my Reface DX.
Are they properly calibrated?
Say that again. What do you have?
I really don't have anything. Sometimes my Reface DX will be here, but not much actually.
He plays tunes on people's teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Manny, what drove you into the world of synthesis? Did you always know that you're going to be a sound designer, and is it you can't play instruments, or you just don't like that aspect of music?
Referring to our podcast.
Well, that's
what podcast?
I will tell you that.
You have a podcast, Robbie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it called Short and Pudgy?
It is Boxing Days.
Get me on with the interview with Simon, but I will make it short. My introduction to music was exceedingly unusual. That just because of family in the business and family friends. The first people I got to see play when I was young were Miles Davis type. So that kind of taints your ability to think, how good can I ever be?
Right.
Okay. So, I got into, look, I'm a hack on many different instruments. I can play what I want to express, but I am not a player in a traditional sense like people are players. I mean, fuck, my college roommate's is on the road with Stevie Nicks. I can't do that shit.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and one of the cursings/blessings of my whole experience in music has been I've been around those type of people my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So, you think Kent's got imposter syndrome. It's out the chain. So,
yeah, for real.
The short answer is I started doing sound design because Kent's point again. I knew a session guy who could play the shit out of anything, but he couldn't turn on a light switch. So I started programming his synthesizers.
Wow.
That's how I started.
It's crazy because it's always born from a need of something, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's how I started, and then
So are you a preset fan then? Like, you don't mind playing presets?
I totally play my own work.
Mhm.
No, I'm kidding.
Toot it, shit, fuck.
No. The point is that when we do sound sets, we want the people to play the presets. It's not just to show off the synth. I mean, ever since Digital Native Dancer, you got to have the one key show off press that does and that blows you in real time.
Mhm.
But that's not the point. We want you to have a sound set you can sit down there and do your compositions from, right?
Right,
Because we want you to use the synthesizer.
right.
So, if you only find 5 or 6 of them that you like, but you can use them as your composition template, or you like in all your patch compositions, we want you to.
Right.
We want you to make music. I mean, if we wanted you to learn the synthesizer, you'd do what I've told companies only happen just for years, which is ship them with no presets.
Right. Right.
That's not the goal. I mean, modular does that, right?
So I didn't know until I guess it was a few weeks ago. It was myself, my brother Robbie, and I, and it was a late night, and we were just messing around. And then Robbie says, on those presets you're looking at, there's initials right next to those. And I was like, initials where? I just thought this was like piano RA. And he's like, no, he's like, no, those are initials for people who have created those presets. It dropped I was like, what? They've signed these things? Like, I had no idea that's what they meant. That's how new I am to this, So,
I mean, ASM was very generous that they acknowledge their sound designers. KFP is the gentleman right next to me on the screen. In there,
Right.
GD is Glenn
That's
Darcy.
one of the things that is really cool to work for Glenn, who's the CEO at ASM, because he's kind of been through the whole industry. Like he started out doing he was like a repair tech at Roland. The guy's been through all of it, and he's one of those guys who's not like, I suffered so you have to. He's one of those guys like, I suffered so you shouldn't have to.
Right.
And when talking about like presets and stuff like that, he's all about giving people credit and really respecting legacy and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it's really wonderful because that's something that I think can easily be overlooked is, what contribution sound designers have made to synthesizers over the years. Like you talk about native dance, like it's kind of like it's sort of a joke in the industry over the years, but at the same time, it's also a standard in the industry. It's like, that thing really set a bar of,
right.
And if you're not familiar with that preset, it is a preset that essentially you can press one key and an entire song comes out of it,
Oh shit, yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, you have to decide, okay, how many presets are we going to have in a synthesizer that are show off the entire synthesizer, right? Versus are playable, versus are showing an interesting sound, that kind of thing. Like there's all these different layers that you have to do for a factory bank in order to make it sell, right? And you'll never please everybody. You'll always hear people say, oh, the factory bank is terrible. The best thing is when you see people complain about a factory bank, but you could release those exact same sounds in a smaller sound pack and they would go over the moon about them.
Right.
It's because
Totally been there, done that.
Yeah. No. So have I, and it's always kind of funny to me. Like I do my best to never take it personal when I see people complain about factory banks and stuff, because I'm like, you have to remember one of the benefits of doing an individual bank is you can market it towards a specific genre or person or whatever, right? And you can kind of explain it and you can say, this is how this is being used. When you do a factory bank, unless it has a huge touch screen that can like display all kinds of info, you're not telling people what it's about. When I did the sounds for the Matrix Brute, they asked me to like fill out a spreadsheet for it, right? And then describe each sound. And I thought it was an internal document. So I was writing ridiculous things in there just to kind of like make the people whose day was getting boring, like organizing things. I figured it would be funny to like tell them a story about an alien an alien angel who was on LSD and all this stuff, and I'm like typing all this in there.
They
Next
released
thing I know, it was on their website.
Yeah. But you know what? That's why I like the Hydrosynth. That's why it's my favorite synthesizer, because it literally shows you how to use it. It takes you from one. You can just follow the fucking dotted line.
Yeah.
And it made it very intuitive.
Cressy mentioned that the patch that Flux was talking about, the Wave State has a version of it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, the original one was on the what's the model of it? The not Wave State.
Wave Station.
Yes.
Oh, the very first. That's the very first
okay.
one. Correct.
Well, I mean, that's got Ski Jam, which is another one of those classic #1 patches. You hit the key, and it's just like, oh, I'm making a
But
song
there's so
right
many
here.
patches that have sold the synth, like
Yeah,
you know,
well, it has- yeah.
the Hoover patch. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Universe.
You know, like there's just so many patches that are like help shape a genre.
Yep.
Help literally shape a genre. You know.
Okay. This may be a dumb question, but
There's never any dumb
why
questions.
why not, instead of loading, I get the marketing purposes, and what a preset actually is hey, this synth is capable of creating these noises. I get that. Okay. But why implement the preset? Why not have it as a sound pack, so that way when people buy the synth, they can pick and choose,
Oh, like an option to
like
bring
an
it
option. They can pick
Well,
and
there is.
choose which ones
Yeah,
to bring
but
in. And
I
There
think you probably
usually
don't.
is a download section for most companies these days where you can kind of do that. But you still have to have, if somebody walks up into a Sweetwater or into a Guitar Center or whatever store, you have to have something that, especially preset #1, needs to be something that's going to grab their attention and is going to inspire them right away.
Right.
Like
Right.
preset #1 is extremely important, and then really that first bank is just extremely important to kind of traverse enough spaces to where you're going to get some damn sales. Because at the end of the day, I really don't think most people realize how small of a market music technology is. Like, and I'm not just talking synthesizer. I'm saying music technology. That's drum machines. That's everything, right? It is a very small market, and it takes a lot of R&D to do that kind of stuff. So,
But
you
I get
really
that being
need to
for
get
a-
sales.
but I get that for being a floor model and getting sales. But when you get it shipped to your home, or you actually buy the physical unit itself, at that point you know what it does, because you've watched the videos, you've actually played the floor model.
Not everybody, though.
No.
Let me
Well,
tell
that's-
you how important it is to sell to the people who don't watch those videos and don't do that stuff. That's really where the market is like, there's a lot of us nerds watching this show and like that are into this kind of stuff, but we're not really the money. Like, we're really not. Like, the money is like all the indie bands out there,
To the
and
oblivious.
the you know, the churches, and there's just so much bigger of a market out there than the, you know, the uber nerds that are.
See,
super
that kind
into
of
this
sounds
stuff.
predatorial, though, when you say it like that.
How so?
Because it just sounds like you're preying on the ignorant.
No, not at all. You're trying to show them what your synthesizer can do.
Right, I get that, but, well, maybe I'm just looking at it different. But if you don't do your due diligence in what you're purchasing, then that's kind of a shame on you, isn't it? Like,
No, because again, it goes back to that whole thing of like, you know, you could be great at what you do, and what you do might be playing in bands, right? But that doesn't mean you're on the internet every day looking up like, oh, what does this filter sound like? What does this do? Like, how do you make this preset? You know, that kind of thing. So it's like, you know, yeah, like it's kind of like you want to make something that works for the power user, right? The guy who's really into this stuff and is super great for them. But you also need to keep an eye on the person who just wants to pick something up and be able to play and just do something amazing with
It's
it.
got to
right?
be marketable for a
It's
whole
got
bunch of people.
it's got to hit multiple
So
angles.
Cressy has a great point, and he says if I get a synth with no memories, with memory and get it blank, he's gonna return it.
And it can be annoying, to be honest
Right.
with you, if you have to like, okay, like I got this thing, everything is just a single saw wave, and now I have to go and load stuff up. Like, no, like me personally, I can double tap a nit on a hydrosynth, and I have that, right?
Right.
But I want to just scroll through and like find cool inspiration. You know, I just want to.
Right.
I just want to fly.
But
And
I
from
also-
that, I
pack
might
that
make
you-
my own presets. There's
Okay.
nothing
Yeah.
wrong with tweaking people's presets to make your own.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a pack my wife saw for the hydrosynth on the hydrosynth forums,
Yeah.
and she was like, look, listen to these sounds. Let's just listen to what is not in there. And I think there was like 128 sounds that weren't in the hydrosynth. And I'm like, well, holy shit, a lot of those sound freaking phenomenal. So why weren't those put in? Why do you have to go there and load those options in? Like, you would think, okay.
Well, I mean, that's like saying, well, an album is going to release tomorrow. Why wasn't it in the album that I bought 3 years ago? It's like, what?
Let me think over this before I have to go. I mean, you guys have to understand the presets selection is a collaborative process. Okay. And they have so much more data available than they can release in the memory of the typical machine. So, decisions have to be made. And there's always going to be something left on the table that's going to interest somebody else more than what was selected. It's just it's just the beige aspect of any large group committee,
Right.
right? You've got to have a little bit from everybody. True story. For decades, it didn't matter how cool a synthesizer was because of the strength of the market in Germany for guys playing pub bands in Germany. Okay, we had to have at least 2 accordions and a tuba in every frickin' preset patch. Okay, now you're thinking, I've got a state-of-the-art synthesizer here that does whatever. I got 2 accordion patches and a tuba because I have to have it for the German market.
Right.
And so those kinds of things go in. I mean, the Muse presets, just to reference, because this is the most recent thing I've worked on. Decisions were made that what went in when it shipped. And there's a whole second bank on the website, right?
Right.
And I get a lot of smirking responses to when people say, oh man, the bank on the website's too much better than what they put in the machine. And it's like the same people that say the third-party presets are better than what they ship with, even though the same people sell the third-party presets that program the machine. I mean, that's how, story for another time, that's how Soundsworth Unlimited got started back in the 80s. But this is a short trip. I actually do have to go, but thanks for letting me butt in, and we'll make a version of
Thanks
it.
for coming on, man.
Seeing you, man.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you,
Yeah.
man.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you for
on.
coming in.
Oh, no worries. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, I would never purchase a synth that doesn't have presets. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I
But
mean, a Minimoog doesn't.
I'm just looking at it from people who
sort of
would
does
have
actually,
the
doesn't it?
who would have the argument, and why does this have to be loaded into I mean, granted, you could take all that shit off if you wanted to, right? Let's be honest. But I guess I'm looking at it from the mindset of, is there a way to satisfy majority of the people who are buying it and give them what they want as a product? Hey, this one comes with presets. This one doesn't come with presets. This one comes with this, and this one doesn't.
I think the majority of people want presets.
It's also
Yeah.
it's also a balancing act of how much of any one particular style of sound you put onto a factory bank. So let's say, for instance, there's a fantastic analog style library for hydrosynth or whatever other synth. This is not a hydrosynth specific topic, but let's just say you have your factory bank, and let's say you've got 128 sounds on it, right? How many of those are going to be analog string sounds, right? How many of those are going to be pad sounds? How many of those are going to be bass sounds? How many of those are going to be effect sounds? How many of those are going to be esoteric sounds that are just really ambient, whatever, right?
Right.
So you have to kind of whittle things down into okay, this is our choice. And you also have to remember that at least an initial bank usually happens while development is still going on, right? So, you can't sit there and do R&D for all this time and then just all of a sudden say, okay, we're done R&D, now we start sound design. It doesn't work that way. Timelines don't work that way. You have to kind of be in a moving method, which means some things may be working, some things may not be, that sort of thing. So then someone comes out with a bank of 128 analog synth sounds, right, for whatever digital synthesizer, right, and they can sound fantastic. And you could say, well, why weren't those on there already? Well, first off, not everybody wants that sound. Some people want it to sound like a virus. Some people want it to sound like this. Some people want it to sound like that. So you still have to be careful with how you do those sorts of things. Some people want a lot of reverbs, right? And other people, you'll read YouTube comments and they're like, "There's too much reverb. I can't hear the synth." And you're like, "But that's part of the synth sound." Like, so
Too
like
much delay
you
usually.
cannot please everyone. You can't do it. It's
Right.
impossible to please everyone all the time.
And-
But you can do some great stuff. In
Going-
my opinion, Prophet 5 Rev 4, one of the best factory banks I've ever heard in my life. Right? I applaud them wholeheartedly because I feel like they really struck a great balance of the classic sounds, modern sounds, usable, playable sounds, and sounds that showed the Prophet being used in non-traditional ways. Like, I think that factory bank is fantastic, and that's what people should strive for. Is really trying to, like, you know, your first bank, it needs to be playable, it needs to be inspirational, and just kind of like show you, hey, this sounds great. And then, like, towards the later banks, that's where you get into your weird stuff, you know?
Thoughts, Robbie?
Yeah, well, I was going to say a couple of things. First off, you know, this whole thing about preset number 1 being very, very important. That was very, very important back in the day when we all used to buy our instruments from bricks and mortar stores. But it's still very important today because when the guys get the instruments to demo in their videos that you're going to look at, they're doing a lot of this. They're doing a lot of stuff. They don't have time to sit down and say, "Well, I'm just going to create a whole bunch of sounds and then I'm going to form my opinion." No, I need to know what this thing can do from, you know, bank A, patch 1, and I need to be able to go through that to ascertain what this is capable of and see where it then goes from there. So it's still a very, very pertinent thing to have bank A, patch 1 being the one that makes you go, "Fuck, this is good. I'm going to go to number 2, number 3," and I can demonstrate that in a story. It was a factual story about an instrument called the Alesis Fusion, which was an incredibly powerful, capable instrument, but very badly delivered and presented for lots of different reasons. But this was around 2006, 2007. This instrument came out, and it's coming out. It's a workstation. So it has multiple synthesis engines. It has a sequencer, MIDI sequencer, but
Physical modeling.
had physical modeling, FM, sample, playback, a brilliant virtual analog engine. But also it had digital audio recording. So it had a hard disk drive in there with eight input channels, discrete input channels on the back of the thing. You could record your guitars and your mic, your microphones, your vocals, your drums, whatever, into this thing and sequence it all with the MIDI data. I mean, it's a really powerful piece of kit. For many reasons, it didn't stick, and there were lots of issues with the firmware and what have you. But one of the really big things, because this was still back in the day when you predominantly, I think, back then, walked into stores and bought synthesizers. You'd walk into a music store and you'd see a Roland Phantom, a Yamaha Motif or whatever it was at the time, a Korg, Trinity or Trident, or again, whichever workstations there were. And then you had the Alesis Fusion. And you go to the Phantom, and you go to Bank A Patch 1, it's just been turned on, or the demo guys just flicked it back to that. When you press the thing, you go, "Wow, that sounds amazing." You go to the Korg, you do the same thing. "Whoa, that's really good." You go to the Yami, you think, "Whew, that's fantastic." You went to the Fusion, you got a piano, and not a very good piano. It was a QR Parts, a pretty poorly sampled QR Parts piano. So you think, okay, well, I'll give it a break. I'll go to Patch 2. What's Patch 2? Oh, it's another piano. What's Patch 3? Another piano. Patch 4, piano. 5, piano. 6, piano. 7, piano. 8, piano. 9, piano. 10, piano. 11, organ. And then there would be 10 organs. And it was just, they completely didn't get the fact that when people went into stores to go through all the different synthesizers, they'd invariably start off at number 1 and go, "Wow, that's amazing. That makes me want to go to Patch 2. Whoa, that's even better. It can do this." You get to the Fusion, which, as Ken said, has got physical modeling, FM, virtual analog, sampling, all of this cool stuff. And the first 10 sounds are fucking pianos.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
you
when
want
I came on
variety.
board with that project, which was alongside Hollow Sun to try and revive. We were designing, or sorry, more
The
to
hollow
Steve.
sun banks for that thing are badass.
Exactly. So the Hollow Sun stuff that Steve was doing and I was helping with were primarily done to save that synth's ass. And unfortunately, it was too far gone. It was too long gone. But, you know, we designed a whole bunch of preset packs. That
In
we
fairness,
let
it
people have
also
for free.
had a lot of bugs in the first firmware.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it was a completely flawed project, and you know, I still got mine. Mine got the last revision, which pretty much ironed out most things.
Was
And
that
I
your
have a
dog, Kent?
No, it wasn't me.
Was it not?
Who was that?
Don't know.
Because
No,
Flux was muted.
I just
don't
turned the
think it was me.
mixer down. Wasn't me.
That's
I
that's
think
me.
Lily might have been leaning on
Finish
something.
that. Finish
That's what I
that
thought.
statement,
Yeah,
Robbie.
go ahead, Robbie.
But yeah, I mean, I still have the Fusion, and I hang on to it purely for sentimental reasons because it was a really cool time to be working with a friend that's no longer with us. But I never use it, and I look at it sometimes and think, oh, really, I should just get rid. And some people are buying them, and they're still, you know, people are still updating, or you know, they're swapping out the mechanical hard drives and putting SSDs in because they really like them. And I know a few guys that have got two of them. They've got the 88 and the 61, and they still play live with these things because they're once you've figured it out, it's you can work your way around it. But from a sales and a marketing point of view, it was so bad. So that's why it's important to
Which
have
is
the
also
others.
why I ended up being able to get one because they were available used
Exactly.
so easily. And
Get Jarvis has a great comment. He says even the vintage mono synths had patch sheets with presets on them.
well, so did the Mini Brute.
Yep,
The,
it's true.
The Mini
Got it.
Brute shipped that way.
Yeah.
Had
Steve's-
patch overlays that you could put right on there.
Yeah, Steve Elbow says, which is a great point because I see this a lot. A lot of people purchase things simply because they want to say they paid X, Y, and Z dollars, you know, for it. You know, this amount of money for it. He says some people will moon whatever you do, and some people don't value stuff unless they have to pay extra for it. And
It's true.
I've
It's very
seen
true.
that a lot.
Yeah,
I've seen it a lot.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I don't let that stuff get to me at all. Like what gets to me is when, and I will fight over it, like internally, when I make a preset that I'm like, this is fantastic, and I'm proud of it, and I give it to someone who doesn't make my genre of music at all, right? And then they're like, it sounds out of tune or blah blah blah, and I'm like, that's the point. That's what makes it so cool. And they're like,
Right.
yeah, but I'm classically trained. I can't stand that. And I'm like, I know. That's why I love it. So it's like for each person, you have your own style and things that are gonna make sense for you. Like I did a wonky tape bank for Hydrosynth, right? Mm-hmm. Some people love that stuff. Some people that's nails on a chalkboard. Me,
Right.
I'm kind of the same way with like if I listen, and this is not a knock on them. This is just my personal thing. I listen to like Dream Theater, and that's like nails on a chalkboard to me. It's too perfect. It's too well done, right?
Right.
And I like, you know, things to be broken and wonky, and like that's what makes my ears perk up, right?
Right.
So you can never just please everybody in that way. But
Okay,
the Fusion was great.
It's like I wrote a bunch of sounds for the Imposca, G-Force's Imposca, and they got in. Quite a few of them got in, and I never wrote down the names of them. So to this day, I still don't know how many are actually in it. Then I did some for the Odyssey. I don't think one got through. And then I wrote a bunch for OBE. And a bunch of them did get through. And I didn't write names of them down either. So I still don't know which ones are mine. They're probably ones that sound a bit CS80-ish, probably. And I always write sounds to mimic other machines without even thinking about it. I never really write a sound that's, you know, off the deck, you know, out there. I'm always sort of like, all right, what is the best string synth sound I can make on this synth? And I think the idea of it, more than anything else, and I think this applies to a few banks that have come out on different keyboards over the time, is that they are basically they're the pamphlet for the synth. They explain, look, this is what it's capable of. This is the different areas it can go in. It can really sound like this. It can really sound like that. And the order they come in, I don't know. There's a lot of politics behind the whole bloody thing, anyway. But the thing is, though, every time I've tried to write a sound that's a bit sort of like, yeah, let's do something weird and stuff, it never goes through.
I have a question for our resident guy. How did you choose to buy the Hydrosynth?
You asking me?
Wait, you're
I'm
the
asking
resident
you.
guy?
Yeah, you're talking about
shit.
presets. How can you choose to buy the Hydrosynth if you've got this weird feeling about presets and maybe it's an ideal thing if you didn't have any? How could you buy one?
Oh, I bought the Hydrosynth because of the presets.
Right, but
Because
you've
of
got this
how-
like a bit of a
but-
stumbling block mentally with presets being in it.
Yeah, I didn't
a bit
have
odd, isn't it?
right, but I didn't.
Counterintuitive.
I didn't acquire the setback came from after I purchased everything. I just kept hearing, people say, "Oh, this and that about presets, and this and that about patches, and this and that about this synthesizer, that synthesizer, West Coast, East Coast. Oh, did you know this one does?" So I let a lot of people in the door, and I didn't know how to digest any of the information that was coming into my ears. I didn't know how to discern anything. And so at one point, I think I took in being in this for only fucking 2 years, you only want to learn so you understand what you're doing so you can have a conversation with someone. So when you get into trouble, you can say, hey, how do you work around this? And I think my issue was I took everyone's gripes and grievances to heart and I made theirs mine. And I started to realize how toxic social media was with everything and how people were gearing my mind.
There's a lot
to,
of people talking, but you shouldn't listen to everybody. 'cause
right,
some
but that's
people
I think you
talking
can-
shit.
but that's a
literally-
learning experience from me though. Like it took me
Well,
some
yeah,
time.
if you're starting out and you're getting into synthesis, you don't know what is a good thing to take on board and
Right.
a stupid thing to take on board.
Yes.
So you were talking about filters. You need an information filter, don't you, to go like, this is thing to keep.
Yeah,
this is the
filter
thing,
this shit
thing
out.
not to keep.
Never.
Right.
Pro tip: never go on Gear Space.
Oi, I'm on Gear Space. Oi, calm down.
Listen, I
There
learned,
you go then.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot from.
Can I have my Christmas card back, please, Ken, that I didn't send you?
Boom, right in there.
I learned a lot from forums, but one of the main things that I learned from forums over the years was that everybody is entitled to their own opinion, whether it's nonsense or not, and you can type in the name of any synth that has presets, and you will find people that love them and people that hate them. And it's all kind of flavor of the week kind of thing as well. Like that happens a lot. Like, man, I love Eurorack. One of the great things about Eurorack is wait 6 months before you buy a module, and you're gonna find all these people have either moved on or whatever. It's like the market fluctuates so heavy with that kind of stuff, and it's the same with a lot of gear. And if you don't make up your own mind, you'll miss a lot of really cool movies. And it's the same about synthesizers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are going to get out of here soon, but I need to ask this one last question. To me, it's always been a big question, and I don't know if a lot of people cover it. But back in the days when my brother and I used to be big video game players. Not so much anymore because it's just been a shit show. With synthesizers and VSTs. Is there a such thing as a pig in lipstick? And let me know if you're confused as to what I mean when I say that. Is there a way that they can upsell you and make it sound like
Turning
this?
me on, you know that.
I know.
Yeah,
you
you're
just
hot
want to
right.
write it. Fucking,
I would say yeah. I say that there's certain things that can like be just bad, but also at the end of the day, it's still about how you use things. Like it's not the tools, it's the artist. So like you can always say that, but yeah, like there's definitely things where, you know, like I said, you can buy a piece of gear that's got bleed and, you know, other issues, or maybe clock sync is a nightmare, or, you know, you've got glitches and that sort of thing. There's lots of stuff like that. There's lots of synths where maybe it was rushed out, that kind of thing, and then they didn't, or it was the result of a lot of cost cutting. So
see, that sounds like a bad, like a AAA video game developer who made this game sound so badass, and if you didn't have it, you're just left out. Like how many synthesizers or drum machines were
There's a
sold
few.
that way, where people were literally screwed over?
I mean, we're fortunate
Does
in
it
a space
still
where
happen?
a lot of that stuff gets
Yes.
corrected. It's just a matter of how long it takes for it to
Oh,
get corrected.
Chris, he
I
said
can think
yes.
of one that stands out to me that I was like kind of shocked at some of the things that were wrong with it, but I still kind of love it, which is like, so the Tempest, right? Is a phenomenal analog/digital drum machine. And it also has a lot of things wrong with it. And some of that stuff is product of the time. And some of that stuff is things that maybe should have been caught. And maybe some things were just overpromised. To their credit, they did the best that they could, I genuinely believe they did the best that they could with what they had. But I'm also, it made me very aware of not overpromising and under delivering on a product. And I
My
think
biggest pet hate is if an influencer is doing, I'm going to say influencer, or a review person on YouTube has done a review of whatever it is, drum machine, groove box, synthesizer, packet of biscuits, whatever. I really, 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 really do not like the bit that quite a few put in. Oh, but you know, I hope there'll be a firmware update that will do this.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
buy
point,
for what it
Cressy.
does now, not
That's
for what
the-
it could do later.
That's
Yeah.
the point, Chris.
I can't buy vaporware. Just tell me what it does, and shut up. Because that's how I make my own decision. Because there's loads of things that people hint, oh, it could do this. Yeah, but it might not do that, eh?
Right.
So why are
Yeah.
you telling me that? That's completely unhelpful for a purchasing decision.
So
So
you're so
stupid.
you're saying, Cressy, it still goes on?
Yeah, of course it does.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but that with the Ableton Move, you know. Oh, well, maybe in an update it'll have 8 tracks. It's never going to have 8 tracks because they've come back and after a load of people have bought it and the actual people who develop it says, no, it'll never have 8 tracks. It's only ever going to have 4 tracks.
There you
Stupid people who talk.
And that's not the developer's fault. They decided that
No,
this is
no.
what they wanted to design,
Right.
but then other people who are, it offends me deeply when I see that sort of stuff as well, because I come from someone who, like, I had a YouTube channel very early on. Like I started mine in like 2009, right? And it was never a like influencer thing wasn't a thing back then. And it was just like, hey, I'm really excited about synthesizers and let's talk about synthesizers and whatever, right? And drum machines and samplers, all that stuff. But the thing is that it evolved into something else. You know, it evolved into a market, and it evolved into a way for people not just to get gear, but to make money off of it and that sort of thing. And listen, you can do that perfectly ethically. You absolutely can. And I think that some of the people that even get flack and hate are actually doing things ethically, but they appeal to an audience that maybe the viewer doesn't agree with, right?
Right.
And that you have to keep that in mind. Like, I'm not the kind of person who necessarily is going to be watching Bo Beats videos. I think Bo is actually a great guy. I've talked to him many times, but I'm also like, I feel like he makes a lot of his stuff geared towards people who are earlier on in what they do. So I'm just not
Right.
that market. It doesn't make me mad, but what does irritate me is I see, and this isn't aimed at him, just in general, I see that there is now this rush to get content out when something drops because that's what spikes up views, right? And I've been a part of it, right? Like on both sides of the game. And it means that content goes out before people truly know the instrument so well that they should be talking about it to hundreds of thousands of people, right? And some of these guys are very aware of that, and they purposely will hold things back, or they'll say, hey, this is just an initial impressions video, that kind of thing. But the problem is that a lot of the viewers don't take it that way. They take it as like, this is definitive. You know what I mean? This is making me make or break my first, you know, what is it? You never get a second chance to make a first impression kind of thing. Right.
Well, what about you, Kent?
What was the question?
Okay, passing to Robbie now.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, I haven't had a fag for 3 hours. I want to kill something.
Oh, geez.
Sorry.
No, we're just talking about synthesizers being like sold like a pig in lipstick. You're not getting what you purchased, and have you been a victim of it?
They overpromised something and it didn't perform as expected.
What about that controller, Kent, that you were lusting after for ages, got it, and now you don't use it, and you're thinking about flogging it?
Which controller?
The one with the wobbly keys.
Osmos.
That's
Oh,
the
the
one.
no, yeah, that's gone. That's gone.
That's gone, is it? Well,
Yeah, I didn't. No, I didn't like. No, I couldn't play it.
That was more a personal thing.
It was a personal thing. However, I didn't like the sounds. But it was the one thing I wasn't looking at or listened to at any point. I was going, oh, MPE, ooh, poly aftertouch. Ooh,
And you
wiggle.
bought it on a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So
bought it early.
You bought it early, got the discount, but nobody really knew.
And then found. I'm not bitter about it. You know, it's my own stupid fault. You know, but I'm glad I didn't purchase.
Did you sort of fall for the hype though? Is that's what we're trying to say? Is did you fall for the hype of what it could offer you, and that's why you purchased it?
It wasn't really hype. It was just that this is what these were some of the facilities of it. And they were talking about access to the Harken engine and everything like that. And I was thinking back to the old Harken and going, oh, okay. And went for it. Then I forgot about how Hans lost a shitload of money invested in that. And it's not his favourite keyboard anymore. And no, straight up. And it's just going, oh yeah, this would be nice. I think this be, you never know, because Roly could be gone tomorrow. That was another thing. That's why I have a Roly Rise 2.
They've been gone tomorrow and came back.
Well, exactly.
And again.
And because that happened, so when the Rise 2 came out, both me and Richard Hilton, we were talking to each other on Messenger, and he goes, are you going to get one? I go, yes, I am. He goes, is there anything wrong with the old one? I went, no. I said, and you should get one as well, because they might not be here tomorrow and we're going to need the parts. If one of these goes down, at least we'll have the other one. And he went, yeah. So he's bought a second one as well, purely on that. So you could say, that's following a hype, but it's a hype that we have generated ourselves, but because of previous performances.
That's following a worry.
That's like an insurance policy, what you've done.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's synthesizer anxiety.
So where I did kind of not fall for the hype, but I fell for the hype that I've generated myself, was when I bought the Seaboard. Because I go, well, now we've got an 88-note Rise.
Right, yeah.
Man, it's got sounds built in, stereo, blah, 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 blah. And then you get it and you find it's the most difficult instrument to play on the planet.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
remember you talking about it.
It's if it's not right on the top of that key, you can't go a millimetre either side, otherwise it will be out of tune. So you play a chord, and oh my God, it sounds like 4-year-olds having recorder practice. Awful, right?
Ken
really
would
bad.
probably love it though, because he'd be like out of tune, so he'd be in his wheelhouse.
Now, I've said to Ty, and this is where I make my mistake. I've bought it, it's arrived, and I'm going, oh, fucking hell, this is a bit weird. And I phone up Ty, I said, Ty, you've got a Seaboard, haven't you? He went, yeah. He goes, I said, oh, I've got one as well. He goes, oh, why did you get that then? Well, because he says, oh no, they're really hard to play, mate. Oh, shit, why didn't I just phone him up and ask him?
Did you just, yeah, exactly, yeah.
No, it never occurred to me for a second. I'm going, I want a Seaboard.
Well, you watch that video with Marco Parisi when he was playing it, and you're like, oh, so people can play that. I've met Marco. No, I am not Marco.
But in the same breath, I can watch somebody playing Rachmaninoff on a Bussendorfer D6 and go, oh, I've got to get a Bussendorfer D6, then I'll be able to play that. It's exactly the same approach, but if it was, because it's somebody playing a piano in a hall, I don't go, No, I'd love a Bosendorfer, but I won't be able to ever make it sound like that because that bloke's fucking brilliant, you know, and he's been playing like that since he was 2. But if it's a synthesizer, dickhead here, go, yeah, okay then, and run off.
Yeah.
And go, hey, look what I bought for 1,200 quid. And I can't play it.
Right.
And I'm stupid.
Yeah.
So I'd
So-
like to sit down with it and actually would love to learn it, but it's like everything else, life gets in the way and it's sort of like still sitting in the cupboard.
Kent, just buy one of these and then make fart noises all day.
Well, I got this System
Kent does that
55.
anyways and didn't have to buy anything.
Yeah, that's true. And if I'm feeling tired, the dogs will step in for me. So I got the 55 and I got an abacus and a brains.
Mm-hmm.
I've had how long have I had the abacus and the brains? Rob? About
Are we talking about modules or actual personal
Module.
things? Yeah.
no, I don't think.
Yeah,
I've
they're
had
brains for years.
No.
Oh, some while now.
10, 11 months, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I haven't heard them
probably
yet.
a year. Yeah.
I haven't plugged them in yet. They're on, but I haven't actually plugged anything into them yet.
Close.
I'll
You
get
don't
round
need
to it.
to.
I'll
You really
get
don't
round
need
to
to. Plugging cables into your modular is so overrated.
Kosh Takai has a comment. He says, at Press Head, it's not a controller, it's a synth.
Yeah, but my idea behind it was to
I
be
didn't
able
even
to
know
use
that.
it as a controller as well.
Yeah.
Because I always like to think about what else I can play with it,
Yeah.
from it, you know, as
Yeah.
in terms of other plugins and stuff like that. It was the same with the Hydra, you know. It's the same with the MP on the M8X and stuff like that. And then being able to get new dimensions from the sound that would otherwise play more plainly.
Yeah.
And and the Osmos turned out to be a mistake, and you could say quite a pricey mistake, because I let it go for a song because there was not exactly people queuing up at the door for it, and I needed somewhere to put the polybrute. So
There you go.
And there you go.
Robbie, same question but slightly different. Red Dead Redemption 2 is made by Rockstar.
Yeah.
It's safe to say any game Rockstar makes, you'll purchase it. Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So how many synths had come your way you personally had to review and go, this is shit, and I got to tell everybody this is shit right off the bat?
Not many, to be honest. Certainly not in the hardware realm. Maybe a few more in the software realm, because I think there's more ability, or there's a broader target to get it wrong with software, whereas with hardware there's lots of people involved. With software you might just have 1 or 2 people and you don't get the QA as much as you would with hardware. But you know, Alesis, you know, if I based all my judgment on Alesis synthesizers on the Fusion, I'd be silly, because even though the Andromeda is a flawed gem, it's still a very, very nice thing. And if you know, they are desirable, if not from the potential expensive doorstop perspective. But I've had hardware sent to me, and I've spoken about this. So I don't care. You know, it was a Roland synthesizer. It was a boutique synthesizer. It was pitched to me, not directly, but it was here is the Roland Boutique JP08. It's a Jupiter 8 in a small box, and I'm like, fuck, I've always wanted a Jupiter 8, and now it comes in a small box, and it's only a few £100. And then as soon as I powered it on, there were 2 things. Number one, it was only 4 voices, and the Jupiter 8 is of course 8 voices. And they have the audacity to tell you in the instruction manual, the instruction sheet of paper, that if you wanted the full Jupiter experience, buy 2 and polychain them. Okay.
Oh, shit.
Jeez.
And then there was the whole thing that because it was a USB powered synthesizer, and also it was an audio interface as well, and all this kind of stuff. It was horribly noisy with the ground loops. And there was no way I was going to be glowing about this thing, because the biggest thing was the fact it was bloody 4 voice, and with a Jupiter 8 you want to get both hands down and go boom, and you couldn't do that with this thing. And so my review, as somebody who does reviews, either mostly written nowadays, if somebody sends something to me, and this is a common thing, it's not just me, it's a common thing amongst most people I speak to that do the same thing. If somebody sends you a piece of gear and it's maybe a pre-production unit, or maybe it's a late prototype, or whatever it might be, it's not maybe quite to production, and you're sat there going through it and you're reading the manual and you're doing all you're just testing the waters, and then something happens and you find what you think might be a bug or something where it's not doing what you think it should be doing. Mm-hmm. You don't then sit down and write the review and say, I wanted to do X and it didn't work, so I'm marking it down for that. What you do before you write that review is you contact the developer and you say, I've been using this and I was trying to do this. Replicate it step by step and give them the opportunity to come back to you and say, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Then you can write the thing that you were going to write, or which is most often the case, is, oh yeah, we know about that, and that will be fixed by the time this hits the retailers, the stores. At that point, you make a decision: do I write that review and say nothing about that thing that I found because it won't be there when people get their hands on it, or do I say, in my unit that I had an issue with X, but I spoke to the developers and they've assured me that it will be okay by the time it hits the market.
Right.
And again, I will go back to the developer and say, look, okay, I believe that I can't just gloss over this. I have to say something, but this is what I'm going to say. What are your thoughts on that? And regardless of whether they say, well, don't say, and they try and instruct me, then that's just not going to happen.
Right.
I will always go with what I believe and what my editor believes is the right thing to do, and the right thing to do is to be as honest as possible.
And that's what I was going to say, Kent. Okay, or Robbie, I'm sorry, but when my wife were living in Washington and we were running the farrier business, people would ask us, hey, I want to purchase a brand new horse. And my wife would say, okay, then you need to take us with you before you purchase the horse. And they go, oh, that's brilliant. Okay, let's schedule an appointment. So we would get to the farm in which was selling the horse to the client. And I wouldn't address myself as a farrier. I don't even look the part of a farrier. And I went dressed down. I was wearing Chuck Taylor's jeans and a white T-shirt and a ball hat. They had no idea who I was. To them, I was just their friend. And they brought this horse out. And the horse is a nice-looking dun horse, right? If you don't know what a dun horse is, it's a caramel color horse with a dark brown stripe going down its back. Mm. And beautiful fucking horse, right? And then so the client says, do you mind moving the horse out so we can see it move around and walk? And already the seller is kind of agitated by this. And so the horse moves a little bit. And then our client goes, okay, Lamont, you want to take over from here? So I go to the truck, or I go to their car because we came in their car. I grab my chaps. I grab a couple of testing tools, and I go to the horse, and I begin to do an examination on the feet. The feet were pure shit. They were 25 cent feet on a $5,000 to $6,000 horse, right? And so we step back and we look at the horse. It's a beautiful horse, but it has a lot of things that are wrong with it on the foundation that doesn't constitute what a horse can do per se. And the lack of communication and honesty is what fucked the seller over, because if the seller was honest about the horses that they bred and they raised, if they were honest about the feet and they came clean, I could have easily said, hey, but I could fix this within a year's time, and then you have the full price of this horse. But because you held that information back and you were going to take advantage of these people, that's where I kind of lose my hope in certain manufacturers. You know, I'm just trying to draw a pun, not even a pun.
But I get what you're saying.
You know, it's just
Parallel.
a parallel. Everything starts with honesty. So if they would have said, Robbie, hey, look, I'm going to give you this boutique size, whatever it may be, but
By
just
the
so
way,
you
I've got that. I've got a JP08, and I have a different point of view. But
Well, everyone does, yeah.
everyone does, yeah.
Yeah, Robbie, did you notice that if you put two polyroots in the same show, they synchronise their cycles?
It's like women.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spot on.
Yeah.
Absolutely synced.
But no, you see, with the Jupiter thing, I was dealing directly with Roland UK. They at no point did they say, you know, this is based on a Jupiter 8, but it's only 4-voice because X, Y, and Z. And even when I got back to them and said, look, this is 4-voice, they didn't give me the reason why they could only limit
okay,
it
so
to
they
4
weren't
voices.
100% honest with you, then, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't initially ask the question because I just assumed, you know, their sales guy says to me, let me send you one of these things. It's the Jupiter 08, but it's in, it's in boutique form, which is, so it was one of the first ones, I think, first.
There's 3 out.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah. And it arrives, and of course it's nice and small and compact. You open up the box, and there's a card, like an O-ring sleeve that goes over the main box. And on the back of that box is a picture of the original Jupiter 8. So even with the picture, they're implying that this thing is a small, is a Jupiter 8 in a small box, which is something that people have been crying out for and still are to this day, in some regards. But then to plug it in and then hold down more than 4 notes and think, hang on a minute, that doesn't sound right. Let's get the manual, because that's the other thing I do when something comes in that I don't read the manual. I want to experience the synthesizer like raw. Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can figure it, because if you can figure out how to use something without using the manual, then this thing has been designed right, from a user level. The manual should only be a point of reference where you need to learn about a specific thing, or you're trying to do something you can't figure out, and then you go to the manual.
Right.
So I'm going to just plug this in, controller straight in. I'm thinking, maybe my controller's not compatible, or it's doing something wrong. No, and then you open up this. They don't give you a manual in the form of a book. They give you this folded sheet that's got 15 different languages on it, and English is just the first 2 bits. And you go to that and you read through it, and it says, 4-voice polyphony. What? And look, they had a valid reason for limiting the polyphony on a lot of these models, because the technology they were using to model the analog circuitry wasn't capable of going beyond 4 voices. Mm-hmm. So if they'd have said to me from the but they weren't going to say that. They only said that, I think, when people started pushing back and saying, hang on, Jupiter 8 boutique has only got 4 voices. The Juno, which is a 6-voice synth in the originals, is only a 4-voice. It was only then that they came out and said, yeah, well, the ACB technology, I always forget which one it is, ACB, it's only capable of doing 4 voices. And so, we just thought it would be good to do this regardless of how many voices. And look, a lot of people love, and I'm sure Cressy's probably going to say the same, a lot of people love their JP08s and other Roland boutique stuff, and it's all pretty good, but for me it wasn't. And I wrote the review, and I was honest in the review, and I said, look, I'm disappointed it's only half the voices. It's got a noisy USB, grand loops and stuff. I've had to use filters and things just to get it so I can listen to it without it in the background. And also I didn't like the fact that because it was small and I've got stubby fat fingers, when you've got sliders that have a 20mm total throw, so 10mm from the center point in either direction, on a synthesizer, an analog synth, or something that's supposed to be a replica of an analog synthesizer, and you're trying to get detailed settings with within 20mm, it's not very good. So yeah, it's that was one that I did. Maybe it was a pig wearing lipstick. I don't know.
Right.
But and Ken said something in the chat. It's a personal thing as well. That for me, I didn't like it. But I have to write a review for people like me and also people not like me. So hopefully they'll get where I'm coming from when it comes to doing that. But apart from that Elisa's Fusion, I don't think there's anything I've got here that I've ever bought that I've thought, oh God, no, that's definitely not what it says on the tin.
Where they just hit the mark far off.
Yeah, no,
Right.
particularly with hardware, I think that's quite a rare thing to happen because there's a lot more invested in hardware. There's a lot more people working in it. There's a lot more QA. There's a lot more R&D. Whereas with software, that certainly with bigger developers, there is the same degree of quality control. But with smaller developers, things can either deliberately or otherwise get missed off the packaging.
Yeah.
Did you ever write a review on the Behringer Vintage?
Not a review, no.
Probably just as well, wouldn't it?
Probably just as well.
Cressy, let's end with you. Your thoughts on it?
Sounds great.
Fucking A, Chris.
I love Cressy.
Sounds great. Got all the presets from the Jupiter 8. Yes, I absolutely concur with Robbie saying the faders are quite small. But I'd sooner have small faders than no faders. And they all light up. They look. This is pathetic. It looks really good when it's switched on.
Yeah,
it looks like, oh shit, Star Trek, awesome.
It's got all the design cues of a Jupiter and a rolling thing, and all those LEDs do make it look pretty in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't sold it. Still got it. I when I was buying it, I knew it was 4-voice, and I knew that you could polychain it if you wanted to like spend 800 quid rather than 400 quid. But other than that, it's been fine. Ground loop noise. I can't remember if I'll get ground loop noise. I've not plugged it in for a while.
That's one of the issues that I'm always like.
But that's not a Roland
That's
exclusive
not a Roland
thing.
thing,
No,
is it?
that's
No.
what I'm saying
that's
is
a
like,
USB
that's one of
thing.
those issues where it's like, man, it can be so studio specific, and it can be so situational specific. Where I'm like, it's kind of like, you know how everybody should have like a hum eliminator in their studio. I feel like everybody should have a USB optical isolator in their studio because there's so many points where you can have a DC offset causing hum and that sort of thing, and it can literally not be the gear's fault. It could be something. It could be a USB hub that you have in your studio. It can be so many other things that are like, well, there's only so much isolation you're going to be able to do in a product the size of that. Like, you're not going to do a full transformer isolation inside of that thing.
No.
And really, your ground plane is going to be attached somewhere. So it's like, even if it's isolated, how isolated can it really be, and that kind of thing.
Right.
Some of that stuff is like, it's hard to really knock a product on certain things when you're like, this might affect me and it might not be affecting somebody else.
Yeah.
And then you can also say like, well, hey, it was an issue here for me. I can't say 100% why it was an issue here, but it was an issue.
It's a potential issue for everybody. It's a potential non-issue for everybody as well. So it depends on it. But yeah, it sounds
I
okay.
can remember when we launched the touch digital controller. I can remember laying in bed one night, shitting myself, wondering how it was going to be reviewed. Because I know Sound and Sound were going to do a review of it. Sonic State were going to be doing a review of it. And God knows what else. And I'm going, Jesus Christ, I really don't know how this is going to be received. And it was generally received as, why? Why does this thing exist? Why is it so big? Why is it so heavy? Did it need to have mahogany? And all this sort of thing. But it's a beautiful piece of kit. It's very intuitive to use. Blah 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 blah. And everybody hated the price. And I wasn't used to reading reviews of my own product. It was quite bizarre. So seeing like the Sound on Sound review was quite. Well, it was very well balanced. But
Who did it? Was it Gordon?
I think it was Gordon, yeah. And it was quite balanced. He had lots to say about it. He said, it was like, like using a really big piece of, analog hardware, but you're using, the GeForce software with it. and it was very intuitive, blah 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 blah. But he didn't like the price either. And as a one man, it was a 2-man operation with one credit card.
Yeah.
Trying to make this thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was reading the views, and everybody hated the price, and somebody was niggled about. I can't remember which mag it was. Was it Studio and something or other? They didn't like it because of its size and weight.
But I was about to come to that. So for some people, size and weight is incredibly important. Like,
Yes,
I want it
absolutely.
to be heavy because I'm spending a lot of money. I need to feel the impressiveness of it, and I want it to be huge so that it's like, it's got a commanding view in my studio. But for other people, they have the 100% opposite view.
Yes.
I want it to be really
They wanted
light
it to
and
be
tiny,
tiny,
please.
cheap,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and as cheaply made as possible.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to, please everybody.
No.
But I mean, when the whole thing finished, because we only made 50, and we sold 50, so fine. And we did get a few people saying, "Oh, can we, we want to buy one." I go, "Sorry, we're not making them anymore." And you go, "Well, they didn't last long." So, yeah, it was about a 4-week production run anyway. And but we ran out of money, couldn't buy any more stuff. And we sort of walked away from it going, "Yeah, stupid idea. I don't know why I did it like that." Blah 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 blah. But I got a little bit back on it because, some 5-6 years later, seeing them up on eBay selling for like $4,500, and people were complaining about them being 700 quid.
Yeah.
Wow,
And I
yeah.
go,
Damn.
yay!
Limited edition, mate. That's what you
Well,
built.
this
didn't
is
you?
it. Only 50 made. Oh Christ! That's blah, 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 and this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like a DX1, isn't it? in a
Yeah,
way?
but it's weird. The people that were selling them were giving it the hype. The hype that was never actually associated with the product when I
Right.
first released it.
Right.
It's just weird, it's sort of like, it's built like a tank, and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But of course, it would control any plugin
Mm-hmm.
or any synth for it that that accepts CCs. You can control anything with it. Because we said about making printed overlays. You put it over and just assign it to a different machine.
Yeah.
But it's like, move on.
I love it when people complain about whether or not something has too many blinking lights or not enough.
Yeah.
That is it's such a crazy, two polar opposite camps. Like, some people love LEDs on their gear, and some
I
people
love
cannot
all the
stand
blinking
them.
light. You can't put enough lights on it for me. I'm a big ass kid like that.
You know what? I like them, but I also wear glasses, so I understand why people hate them. Like, I have
Yeah.
so many microfiber cloths around because I cannot stand getting LED streaks in my glasses.
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
drives me insane, and I can't wear contacts because I'm a punk ass. So it just it drives me.
Yeah,
nuts,
touching
but-
your eyeball.
Yeah, I'm not doing all that.
LED
Yeah,
lights
I
is
mean-
quite a new thing, though, isn't it? Really, for Sims.
What's
Really,
that?
it's, LED lights is quite a new thing. When you got like every knob or every switch has got a light behind it is quite a fashionable thing. I think
Yeah,
the first one that
that's-
I remember will be what's the System
Project
1
5
by
has a
Roland.
few.
System 1 had like everything had a green glowing something behind it.
Well, and you know what? That thing gets so much flack, and people hate how it looks, and I love how it looks. One, obviously, green is like my absolute favorite color. So but that
Okay.
aside, I love the idea that they did where it was like some knobs are lit up and some aren't, depending
Yeah.
on which plug
Yeah.
out you have in.
Yeah, that
Like,
was clever.
I liked
Yeah.
I liked what it is. Like, as far like I have a System 8 right here. I think it's one of the best sounding digital synthesizers you can own. Like, I think it sounds absolutely amazing. The low end on it is crazy.
The
And
Oasis
some
had
people can't
the
stand the
segmented
look.
LEDs as well, didn't it?
What's that?
The Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
Cog Oasis had the segment. It was about, 2002?
That's the
something
one
like
thing about the System 8 that it doesn't have is they don't show you value, right? They only light up and show you which knob is active, but they don't give you any kind of value. And
No,
I
this
think
had
that
the increment thing.
that would have cost way more on it, though. Like,
Yeah, but, I mean, the Oasis was what, 6K?
a lot of money,
in
yeah.
the US, I feel like it was more than that. But
Oh yeah, here it was six because it was nearly $2 to the pound back then. You know, the
Yeah.
good old days.
Can I show you guys? Can I show you guys
Good
my
old days.
nerd behavior during the holidays?
Yeah, go ahead.
So check this out. This is what I've been doing. I keep refining these things, right? So these are
3D prints.
Yeah. So I've been doing this. Been designing these clips for my Euro rack and for my other synths. This one did not. But anyway, so see if you can see that.
Yeah.
So this guy right here. So it'll take an M3 screw right to your Euro rack, and then I have this one here as well. And see, I'm trying to get it on my pasty face. So
I've got it.
Yeah, gotcha.
So yeah. So it screws into the Euro rack, and you can put your cables in there, so it manages the cables all nice and
okay.
neat.
Yeah.
And I'm getting these things. I'm like refining, and then I'm gonna do ones that will also work with the Hydrosynth Deluxe on the back where the table tray is. I want to have some clips and stuff for that as well, so that if you're on stage and you want to have your cables run a specific way, you can utilize that.
Nice.
But that's what I've been doing is I've been learning Tinkercad and that sort of thing so that I can clip my Eurorack cables and be more nice and neat.
Who
and
doesn't
I've done
like cable management?
I've done probably over a
Right.
dozen revisions of my designs already, and I keep like obsessing over like, oh, it needs to be just a little bit thinner here and it needs to do this just a little bit better, but that's
R&D.
that's my obsessive behavior as of late.
Yeah.
And by the way, that oscillator that I fixed sounds like a Buchla because it is all over the place.
Okay,
It's a feature.
It's a feature. We'll be back tomorrow. What time we start popcorn night?
What's tomorrow? Friday.
Yeah, first up is Robbie. He's got something special going on the 27th, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's the end of year show. There'll be alcohol. There'll be me and Andrew discussing what synthesizers, software, hardware, blah blah blah. Kent will just sit there and go, yeah. Have you drawn up a list yet, Kent?
Of what?
See,
See, there you go.
there you go.
2 to 4 tomorrow. Or
Yeah,
our
2
time?
to 4 on the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
And we've also got very special guests dropping by throughout the show to say hi and wish you all a happy new year. And there's one very, very special guest, maybe two. Who knows? But you need to tune in to find
We will
out.
You haven't
definitely
dug up
be
Bowie
tuning
again,
in.
have you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely there.
Yeah.
Got
So
him and George.
we'll be coming on after Robbie's
Will.
show.
Yeah, damn right.
He said, "Damn."
You got anything coming up, Mr. Flux?
I have a bunch of stuff coming up. So I'm involved in other podcasts and have been for quite some time. So the Beat People podcast will be coming back. We have some guests lined up.
That's a great podcast.
Corey and I
love
have
it.
just been kind of working on organizing, but that will be coming back. Synth Summit show, which is basically me interviewing legends of the synthesizer industry. That will be coming back. If you haven't checked it out, please go check that out. I see Uncle Chrome's asking if I'll be doing more with Dave Rossum. I think that actually might be in the works. I have an idea for something that I want to do with Dave and Roger Lynn and a few others who have already kind of agreed to it. I just need to organize. But main thing, I'll be at NAMM. Please stop by the ASM booth at NAMM and say hi, because my feet will be hurting and it'll take my mind off of that.
One of these days, I'll get an invite. I don't know when, but maybe one of these days. Get Jervis is Sunday,
Yeah, Sunday.
along with, you know, I love Sunday because it goes like this: Sin Seeker, Symptoms of Reality, Get Jervis.
Yep.
Our Sundays every night are playing. We don't even watch TV anymore.
Nah,
We just fall.
it's all done.
Just so you know, you can
We
go to
watch
NAMM.
YouTube on TV.
You can go to NAMM. Like
I thought you had to have a invite.
So can I just give you a really quick breakdown
Sure.
on how it worked out
Please.
for me?
Yes.
Because this is literally how I ended up fully in the industry doing my job and everything. Like literally, that's how I met my boss, is going to NAMM. So your channel, and you can basically organize a like a portfolio of what it is that you guys are doing, right? And you could submit that to NAMM and say like, hey, I need a press badge, which, to be frank, the press badge is one of the best badges that you can have because you get there early, you can go in early, and you can get to the press area, which means there is a place that you can sit down, eat food and stuff, which at NAMM, that is coveted. That is very coveted, trust me. Sometimes even when I go with the company, I'll get my press badge also, just so that I can go in there and sit down and be away.
Yeah.
But no, you can submit for that.
Shit,
and
take
and
notes,
do that.
Daryl.
Oh, yeah, I am.
If you have trouble getting a badge, let me know, and I can see what I can do as well. Like,
Oh, hell yeah.
it's I know that you were talking about like the whole synth mafia thing at one point, and I was at one point accused of something similar, by another YouTuber who just didn't understand. Like, yeah, this is the process of how you get this stuff. Like, if you submit, you can get a press. That's how I got in. I started a blog, kind of to get into NAMM, so that I could meet people that I could then shop my sound design and stuff to, and use it as an in. And then eventually, like, you can literally see the first time I ever met my boss on YouTube. Like, if you go look up Matrix Brute Flux with it, like, you'll see the first time I ever met Glenn in person, and it's on there. But no, it's a wonderful event that I highly recommend people go to. It's much better for networking, that sort of thing, than it is just going to see gear, because it's loud and it's busy and it's annoying in those ways. But if you're super into this stuff, you'll love it. But then also that same weekend there is Bukla and Friends event that's not far from there, and I'll be at that as well. So it's going to be a busy
Well,
weekend.
shit, somebody need to invite the monkeys. Let my brother and I get in NAMM with fucking cameras.
Yeah, so
That's hilarious.
Probably
yeah,
be the last
literally,
NAMM we go to.
Literally, myself, B-Boy Tech Report, and soundsandgear.com, like, we're all, like, best friends, and that's how we all linked up and got together, is, like, we knew each other from forums and stuff, but then in person, the first time we ever met in person was going to NAMM and getting into NAMM and that whole process.
Well, shit,
was
we'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
I think our first NAMM was, like, our first NAMM where we all went together was, like, 2012, I think, something like that, 2013.
You can just go to the NAMM website and sign up and register and put your credentials in, and really, if you just say that you're a YouTube channel and put your links and stuff in. I mean,
think the
I get
paid
invited.
pass is like $150, but that's
Yeah.
not the move. If you have a podcast and stuff, you might as well just submit and say, "Hey, I'd like to go as press," and do that.
I did it years ago in the hope that I would eventually go, and every year I get a pass, but I never go.
I used to get passes for friends that way, because like I'd be like, "Yeah, this is my photographer." Man, I didn't have no photographer. I ran around with a little Zoom H4n and a little camcorder. I was like, hey, tell me about stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So tomorrow we'll be on right after PSN, and tomorrow, don't forget, is popcorn night.
That's why we've moved Fiona's quiz.
Yeah.
No, we've moved it to Saturday now.
Yeah. Yes. Saturday. That's
Jesus.
right.
But earlier.
Yeah, at 3, right?
Yeah. So it'll be
Yeah, 3
earlier.
hour time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Popcorn night right after Robbie's PSN. If you guys, you still have time to submit stuff if you haven't submitted. Email is pinned in the chat right now. So if you've created something new, just upload it to YouTube and just keep it unlisted and just send it to me. If it's something that's already on your YouTube, that's fine. You don't have to unlist it. Just send me the link to it in the email or in the Discord if you're in our Discord.
And don't forget to check out Uncle Chrome. If you missed his latest, it's damn shame.
Yeah, he's
But
in
you
the
guys gotta
Twitch
check out
and YouTube.
It's 58 minutes long, and it's the best 58
I'm
minutes
still
of your
convinced
fucking
he
life.
did it for us, but he still claims
Yeah, it's
it's
for
not.
him,
But
but
there's
that's
too many
fine.
coincidences
Yeah.
in that song. I don't care what he says.
I
He
don't-
made it for us.
I don't know if Steve Elbows is a content creator. If he is, check him out. George G's, Viral Beats, Homegrown. The list goes on. They're in our comment section. Check them out if you do there. and then you would get their full schedules.
See, Uncle Chrome keeps saying he didn't do it for you.
I know.
I
But
just I don't believe him.
I don't believe a fucking
I
word
don't
that
believe him
man
either.
says. Okay, as
Go,
usual.
you guys go watch it and
Yeah.
you'll understand why we're convinced that he made it for us.
We will watch and we will judge.
Yes.
It was about a war in Waterloo, which where we live. It was about horses.
Yeah, and then it
which
was
we were in the horses.
About the history of math,
and the
which
history
I'm an
of math,
accountant
and she's
and
an
love
accountant and
math.
loves numbers.
Yeah.
And then it had the whole Kent and Robbie and myself and my brother
at the very end.
At the very end, it
And
was just
then
like,
it was Simply Risky's tribute.
and it was a Simply Risky
Yeah.
tribute. and,
Hello, he made it for us.
I mean, how do
Sorry.
you? I don't know.
I don't know what he's talking about.
But
he lost his mind.
right? As usual, we are in the Kia C for this drone. So you guys can feel free to play with this, and we'll play it for a few minutes, and then we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Luke, I'll message you on Discord. Who wants to play along? Robbie, you playing along with us?
Go for it.
Kent, Pig Rider.
I'm familiar with that particular key.
Okay.
That one, isn't it?
Cressy, you said no, right?
I've got nothing plugged in apart from my
Okay.
head.
God
What
damn
was
it,
the key?
Cressy.
Of course.
Kia C.
C.
I can play and see.
Okay. So I'm gonna mute everybody myself, and then I'll bring everybody in at one at a time.
Wait, hang on. Cressy, you know what happens at the end of the show every fucking time. Get your head out of your fucking ass.
Yeah, he never does.
2025,
Flux,
mate. 2020.
yeah. Flux, unmute yourself real quick so I can mute you.
How dare you?
Thank you. I know.
I did it again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so Kent's coming in first. All right, Robbie, I'm bringing you in. All right, Flux, bring you in.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Real quick, thank you to Edub. Please go check out Edub's channel. Synth Samurai, Echo Craft, Reconsider It, Sketchpad. These are all great artists. Thank you for showing up tonight. We love you all. Peace out.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Same to you guys. Bye.
Bye.